New York Giant fans. Hopefully you guys enjoying your Saturday. Obviously, things are getting close. There's not a whole lot to talk about today regarding New York Giants news. Of course, the combine. Everybody worked out in their shorts. So you're going to see all these prospects get overhyped, underhyped, based off of their 40 times. And there is some stock that goes into it. There's no doubt about it. And what's going on, Jax, man? Stand up, new member. Welcome to the squad, man. Because some of these teams, it's going to influence what they want to do in the draft based off of the 40 times that these guys ran, based off the way that they threw the ball. And I'm going to have a podcast out with somebody else probably on Monday talking about the guys that probably helped their stock and hurt their stock based off the combine. So obviously that's the big news today, or at least, where most NFL fans had their eyes today was on the NFL combine as we're getting ready for the draft coming up, free agency, everything else. But I think as a Giants fan, at least me all day, I mean, I don't know about you guys. And I watched the combine for a bit. I watched the quarterbacks throw. I watched some of the wide receivers run their 40s, whatever. But I think most of us, I got Twitter, and every time I get a notification on my phone from Adam Schefter or Ian Rappaport or whoever, you're hoping that there's some details regarding Saquon Barkley or Daniel Jones. I think that's where the majority of our minds are right now as New York Giants fans is what is the future of this football team going to look like? And that's all I've been thinking about the past 2, 3, 4 weeks. I think we want answers. I think at this point, at least most of us, think Daniel Jones is coming back, but you want to see what the contract's going to look like. You want to see what the plan is going forward with this football team. We're going to find out soon. I mean, the tag deadline is on the 7th, so we got another 3 or 4 days until we find out ultimately what the New York Giants are going to do. Based off what I've heard and what I've read, I think the Giants are going to try to get this deal done before the tag deadline because my guess is they're going to want to try to tag Saquon Barkley and work out a deal after. But we'll see. We'll see how it all plays out. I think in the end, they're going to get an extension done with Jones, just a matter of when. I'm hoping it's before the tag deadline. That way you could kind of plan accordingly with free agency and everything else. We'll talk about what you guys think the contract's going to be and, what plans you may want to have based off the combine. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people that see the broad jump for Anthony Richardson and the way he throws and thinks it's realistic that we could trade up for him. I don't see it, but everybody's entitled to their own opinion. I think it would cost way too much to move up to get a quarterback in this year's draft with all the teams that need quarterbacks. But we'll talk about all of it throughout the stream. What's going on, Dylan? It's cool, man. What's going on, man? And Juicy says live stream is where it is. What's going on, Juicy, man? Thanks for being here, buddy. And stand up. Welcome to the squad, man. I appreciate it, buddy. Thank you for being here, man. Give DJ his contract in Bitcoins, Terry said. I don't care. Listen, at the end of the day, he's getting a contract, in my opinion. And it's just a matter of what the contract's going to be, what the commitment is going to be. I'm much more concerned about the commitment, which means the guaranteed money, as opposed to the average per year salary. You know that the average per year salary is what's going to garnish the headlines. If he signs like a 4-year, $160 million, everybody's going to say $40 million a year. But for me, it's about the guaranteed money. It's about the structure of the contract. And it's about the options that Joe Schoen leaves himself. I think Joe Schoen's going to be smart in the way that he makes this contract, no matter what the cost is going to be, whether it's $37 million a year, $40 million a year. If I had to guess, I think it's going to be a bit under 40 with incentives that maybe could reach a little bit over 40. That's just my prediction. But I think he's going to structure in a way where he could have options with Daniel Jones one way or another after 2 years, where he could turn and potentially draft a quarterback or potentially extend Daniel Jones and kind of backtrack that money so he could keep building the football team. That's what I think is going to happen, but we'll see. NY Giants 26. He says, who are your top 3 players you realistically would like in the first round? Players projected to be there right now, or who you project will be there? It's very hard for me to answer that before free agency starts. What's going on in Afghanistan to see what we do with the players, what players we bring in, what our most immediate needs are going in. There are so many players I'd be happy with our 25th overall pick. There are so many players. There's a ton of cornerbacks I like. There's probably 4 cornerbacks I could tell you. I think that's where the value is going to be. I would not mind the center from Minnesota. There's probably 15 players, and I'm gonna have a podcast on it later this week that I could realistically see the Giants drafting that I'd be happy with that pick. I think it's going to be a wide receiver corner, though, when push comes to shove. Maybe we take a center, but I think it's going to be a wide receiver or corner when push comes to shove. It's just a matter of which one falls and who they feel best fits the scheme, whether it be on the offensive side or the defensive side. So that's what I think is going to happen. I think it's going to be a corner or wide receiver. Love the content as always. What's going on, Triple Crown Media, man? Thanks for popping in the stream. Let's see. We're not trading up for a wide receiver. We're not trading up for a wide. I mean, maybe, but I don't see it. I don't think we're trading up at all. I think the Giants are going to stay where they are, and they're going to make a selection at 25. I just I don't see the New York Giants surrendering significant draft capital to move up to get a wide receiver in this year's draft. I just don't, because I don't see a Jamar Chase in this draft. I don't see a Jalen Waddle in this draft. I think it's a decent wide receiver class, but I don't see a wide receiver worth giving up premium draft capital to go up and get. So I don't think that's going to happen. And I think there's a lot of really good first-round corners. One of them is going to fall to 25. So I really don't think we're going to trade up. I think we're going to stay where we are. Maybe we explore potential trade down possibilities to accrue future draft capital if we, like a certain guy in a certain spot and we feel like we could get him early second round. Who knows? But yeah, that's just my opinion on the matter. I don't see the Giants trading up in this year's draft. I just don't. I think we're going to stay put. We have way too many needs. I don't think we're giving up premium draft capital. What's up, James Jones, man? Thanks for popping in, man. Let's see. Quentin Johnson looked really good in this draft, but Addison was kind of underwhelming for me today. Yeah, I mean, Quentin Johnson, I forgot what it was, but he had a really good vertical jump. I think it was like 40 inches or something, and he had a good broad jump, which surprised a lot of people. Addison ran an underwhelming 40, but a lot of people kind of expected that from Addison. He's not really fleet of foot. I think he ran like a 4.55, which is really bad, for a guy that's projected to be a high-end, first-round wide receiver. And then I think the second time he ran a 4.49, so he was a bit faster. But, yeah, Addison, at least in terms of his 40 time, I didn't watch much else after that. Definitely didn't help his draft stock. The same thing kind of with Hyatt, and I know that Jalen Hyatt ran a pretty good 40 time. He ran a 4.41. And listen, these coaches are going to look at the tape and everything else, but most people were projecting Hyatt to run mid to low 4.3s. So I thought that was a little bit underwhelming based off of, the projections, at least going into the combine. So none of the wide receivers today, I think, like jumped off the page like a Jamar Chase would have or Jalen Waddle would have. I don't see that type of prospect in this year's draft. Let's see what we got. Hopefully maybe he will. He might. I wouldn't be sure. We'll see come draft time, but I still think Addison probably won't get to us, but it's possible he could. Let's see. Hyatt was injured. That might be why he was a little slow. Flowers in the 4.3s? I thought Flowers was in the 4.4s. Zay Flowers. Was he in the 4.3s? I see Chris D said that he was in the 4.3s. I thought he was in the 4.4s, Chris. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but that's what I thought I saw. I think he was like a 4.43. Maybe I'm wrong on that though. Maybe he was a 4.37. I thought he was like a 4.43. 4.42. Okay, 4.42 for Flowers. Good time for sure. Good time for sure. Darnell Washington ran a 4.65. Okay. No, I thought he was a 4.3 guy. Oh, you thought he was a 4.3 guy and he ran a 4.42. I mean, that's pretty close. For if he was projected to be a high 4.3 guy. James says, should we sign a true middle linebacker because most of the draftees look like weak or strong side linebackers? I've said now for months, James, I think that's what we're going to do in free agency. I think we're going to – who it's going to be, I mean, a lot of people are saying Long. They feel like he's a good scheme fit, the guy from the Titans. I don't know who it's going to be, but I think we're going to – our highest profile outside free agent acquisition, if I had to guess, is going to be a linebacker. We don't have any linebackers, and it's not a position that's going to cost – an arm and a leg, like a premium wide receiver would, especially in a thin wide receiver class. Probably not the best idea to go out spending with as slim as this wide receiver class is. So I think we're going linebacker. That's what I've thought for a while, maybe corner, but I think if we're going to spend somewhat big on one position in this year's free agency class, it's going to be linebacker. That's what I think we're going to do. And I think in the draft, we'll try to attack corner and wide receiver relatively early. Richard, what's going on, man? Giants keep Jones, Saquon Barkley. How about listen, 8 straight. I think I'm doing the game tomorrow. We'll see. I was talking to JD Sports. I think we're going to start doing games together. I think that'd be a lot of fun. I know he started doing the play-by-play. He asked me if we want to do it together. We just got to get on the same schedule, so that should be a lot of fun. But, yeah, 8 straight for the Knicks. As far as what you said about Daniel Jones and Barkley, I mean, I'm leaning that both are going to be back. I don't know that for sure. Jones is going to be back. Barkley, I'm kind of closer to 50-50 on, but we'll see. I'm leaning that both are going to be back in some way, shape, or form. Chris, what's going on, man? Do you think Richardson upped his value today? I mean, people that are just going to go by the comp, yeah, I mean, slightly, I guess. But to me, that wasn't like news. Like, I knew that Richardson was a freak athletically, right? So I know it was like record-breaking stuff with the vertical jump and the broad jump or whatever. And he did throw a good deep ball, which we knew. So, like, to me, for like people that looked at his tape, there shouldn't be any surprise. That's not like the thing that if you're going to be worried about Anthony Richardson, that you're going to be worried about. You're not worried about his athletic ability. You're not worried about his arm strength. You're worried about whether or not you could morph him into a good NFL quarterback based off of some of the things that he's shown on tape, his accuracy issues, his footwork, his mechanics. So I think teams that were going to be willing to take a chance on Anthony Richardson on his upside are still going to be willing to do that today, and they would have been willing to do it today regardless of what happened today. So maybe it slightly helped his draft stock. I think he's going to be a top 10 draft pick. I've thought that for a while. If you told me, Chris, what's the perfect team for Anthony Richardson to go to, I think it's the Detroit Lions. I think it's a perfect match. Detroit has a older quarterback at Jared Goff. He's like 30. They probably only want to hold on to him for another year or two. And they have 2 first-round picks, and they're picking 6th overall. They already have a pretty developed roster. They have a very good offensive line. They got good young wide receivers, and he could sit behind Goff for a year, learn the playbook, learn the scheme. We all know he's a project. I think that's the perfect match for Richardson. Like, if I was Richardson, that's where I would want to go. But I don't think he's getting outside the top 10. And Rudy, man, what's going on, man? Thanks for being a member. YouTube didn't give me the notification, but I'm glad I checked your channel randomly. What's good, my guy? Thanks for helping me do the laundry. What's going on, Rudy, man? Good to see you, man. I think the Seahawks are a good match as well. Same thing. They got weapons. They have a young, improving offensive line. And they got a quarterback he can learn behind. Now, if they were to draft Richardson, you would have to figure they're probably not going to spend money on bringing back Geno Smith just because of how much it would cost. So I guess he wouldn't have a guy to learn behind. Like he would potentially with the Detroit Lions. He may have like a Tyrod Taylor type quarterback if they elected to go that route. I don't think they're gonna. I don't think Seattle's gonna draft a quarterback, but I wouldn't be shocked. They may look for the long-term answer. Juicy, what's going on, man? What would you want to see if Joe were to trade 25? Would you want more picks next year or a combo of picks and players to fill needs with proven guys? I think I'd want picks. I think I want picks. I want to get as many picks as we possibly can. If we're trading down, I want to accrue more picks. Here's what I'll say. If you could get a premium wide receiver, of course. That's an obvious need of ours right now. And I think Joe Schoen has to explore that possibility because you look around free agency, like I just said, there's no like high-end wide receivers. So I think Schoen at least has to explore the possibility of what the price is for these guys, whoever it may be, right? Analyze the market and think, and if it's worth it, make the move. See what Jerry Jeudy's going to cost. See what Hopkins is going to cost. See what Ayuk's going to cost. See what Higgins is going to cost if they're even available. But it has to be the right deal. I don't think he's going to force a trade, nor should he. But in an ideal world, I'd like to get more picks. Just keep accruing more picks. The more picks, the better. And Diego, what's going on, man? I think we're going for Ringo or Banks. One is falling to 25, and we go wide receiver in the second round. Yeah, I had Banks. I had Ringo in my first mock draft. He didn't really impress me today from the little bit that I saw. And again, it's a combine. I think he ran a good 40, but in terms of like his when they had him drop back in the drills and he was kind of running side to side, like a lot of people pointed this out on Twitter too. Like his hip movement didn't really look fluid, but who knows? Ringo, I think has good potential, and I do think he fits our scheme really well. And I think the same thing for Banks. And Banks had like I think he ran like a 4.36, like super fast. He's listed at 6'2", 205. I think he was 6 foot and change at the combine. So I guess he's a little bit shorter. But regardless, long arms, tall, fast, potential there, right? And he's meant to play man press. So I think both those guys would be the type of cornerback that the New York Giants would be looking for. So I think he's a good fit. I think there's a lot of good fits at that position in the first round for the Giants. And let's see what we got. Juicy says 25 for Pitts. Not that even a possibility. Who are you talking about? Kyle Pitts? I don't think they're trading Kyle Pitts. He's entering his third year? He had Mariota at quarterback last year. They had a mess for a head coach. I don't think they're giving up on Kyle Pitts yet. I'd be very surprised. Plus, he makes a lot of money, right? Kyle Pitts was the third overall. I think he was the third overall pick, and he's a tight end, so he's making a lot of money too already. You'd have to commit a lot of money to him long term after the fact if you're going to make a trade like that. I don't see something like that happening. Mike, man, what's going on, man? Thanks for being a member for 36 months. Says, what's up, Entertainer? I'm fully convinced that all of Georgia's players are built in a lab. Nolan Smith's running a 4.39 for a D lineman. Yeah. The thing that you worry about with Nolan Smith is, does he have the size to play, at the NFL level up at the D line? But a lot of people are projecting him to be an outside linebacker. I think he's like 235. But yeah, 4.39, that's a faster 40 time than Saquon Barkley. So yeah, he certainly helped his draft stock. He made himself a few $1 million for sure. Who knows? Maybe the Giants do take him. You never know. But yeah, he certainly helped his draft stock for sure. And what's going on, Bob Wells says OGB podcast has us taking Rice in the second round, Banks in round 1. Your thoughts? I think Banks is probably the 3 or 4 most likely guys we're going to draft right now. If I was doing a mock draft today, yeah, he helped his draft stock, and he's a perfect fit for our defensive scheme. So I think he certainly moved up into a first round pick today. Most people had him as like an early second round pick before the combine. Now he's probably trending towards being a mid to late first rounder. So he definitely impressed. And he's a really good scheme fit. So I definitely think he's probably one of the 3 or 4 or 5 most likely players that we're going to select with our pick, if you ask me today. Rice, I've seen limited highlights on him. The one thing that stands out to me, at least from what I've seen, I didn't watch a ton of his games, doesn't create a whole lot of separation. I'll say that. And what did Joe Shane say what he wants in a wide receiver? When he was asked, what do you look for? Do you look for height? He said the most important attribute is separation. So I think that's what he's going to be looking for, speed. He's going to be looking for guys that run crisp routes. And I don't necessarily know if that's the type of wide receiver he's going to be looking for. I haven't done a ton, in terms of looking into him, but I've seen a little bit of him, whether it be on Twitter, whether it be some highlights. And that's a common thing that a lot of people have said about him. He's not really known to be a guy that creates a lot of separation. And what's going on? Juicy Manning's popping in. He says, should Joe kick the tires on Taylor Lewan for interior offensive line? No, I would say no. He's obviously a tackle, and he's obviously probably going to cost a decent amount of money. So I'm going to say no. I don't expect the Giants to be at the top of the food chain when spending in free agency this year. I just don't. I don't know what Lewan's market's going to be, but I would say no. I want the Giants to draft an interior offensive lineman, and I want them to do it relatively early. Whether it be in the first round, second round, maybe the third round. But I want them to take a center. I want them to take a true center this year. That's my wish list, I guess. Like, I want a wide receiver, I want a center, I want a linebacker. Regardless of how you get it. That's what I want. Let's see what we got. Mike Nixon, man, what's going on, man? He says, and Georgia tight end. Yeah. Oh, dude, what's Washington, right? I think it is the tight end from Georgia. He ran like a 4.65 or something, and people were raving about him going into the combine. Yeah, he looked good. He looked good for sure. But thanks. And there you go. Yeah, tight end Washington. I thought you were talking about 2 different players, but yeah, the tight end Washington. And what's going on, Cy Guy, man? What's going on, buddy? He says, I want to see Joe Shane draft a legit center and a day 3 quarterback to develop. I'm fine with that. I'm completely fine with that, to be honest with you. In terms of the drafting a quarterback and say the 4th round, you said a day 3 quarterback, 4th round, 5th round. I'm fine with that. Because the way I look at that is Dable could develop him over the next 2 years or so. And if you decide to move off of Daniel Jones, if he grows into a guy that you feel could be a starter, great. If he doesn't, when you take a guy in the 4th or 5th round, you expect them to be backups anyway. So I'd be fine with that. I'm not Geno Smith, rather. Tyrod Taylor is not going to be with the New York Giants after this year, more than likely. So I'm fine with that. If you want to take a swing on a developmental quarterback in the 4th or 5th round, A-okay by me. I see no problem with that. I've seen people bring that up as a possibility. I don't want to take one in the 1st. I don't want to take one in the 2nd. Don't want to take one in the 3rd. But if you want to go 4th, 5th round quarterback, that's fine with me. More often than not, they're not going to work out. We've seen that as Giants fans, whether it be Kyle Lauletta or the laundry list of other quarterbacks we've seen in the past that the Giants have elected to go in that 4th or 5th round area. But I'd be fine with it if he works out to be a long-term backup. What's up, Goblins? He says, would you rather we address the line on either side, receiver or linebacker first round, putting aside who would have the highest talent left? Yeah, I mean, I've said right now I'm projecting corner and wide receiver, if that's what you're asking me. I think that's where the value is going to be, where we're picking. What would you rather address? Line on either side, receiver or linebacker first? I don't want to take a linebacker in the first round. I mean, I'm not going to be upset if they do, but I would rather address the linebacker in free agency and still draft the linebacker in the draft, but not in the first round. First round, I think I want to go wide receiver, corner, or center. Like, if they really like a center, I'm on board with that. But wide receiver, corner, or center. That's right now where I'm leaning that I want the New York Giants to go with that first pick at 25th, if that's what you're asking me. Let's see what we got. Let's see. Somebody asked, Michael says, Tane, a lot of Giants fans think Shane had a bad draft last year. What are your thoughts on this? It's nonsense. That's my thoughts on that. How can you evaluate a draft after 1 year? It's silly. How can you evaluate Joe Schoen? Let's put all the factors in here. Joe Schoen last offseason, first off, didn't have a real offseason. He didn't have a full offseason. He didn't even have his own staff. He didn't have his full staff in there. He was still working with the old staff for the draft. Secondly, every one of the players he drafted got hurt. Thirdly, every one of the players that he drafted were playing with other players on the team that were learning a new offense and defense on both sides of the ball. It takes time to adjust. So to come down on a draft after 1 year is just silly. You got to give Joe Schoen 2-3 years of drafts to evaluate him and to see how these guys do. Players take different amounts of times to develop. So it's insane. You can't come down on that draft yet. I think a lot of those guys could turn into something. Like, I think Wan'Dale Robinson has potential. I think Cordell Flott has potential. I think Dane Belton has potential. Obviously, Bellinger has potential. We don't got to speak about Thibodeau. He's going to be great, in my opinion. And Evan Neal, I still think, is going to be very good. So you got to give this draft time to breathe. You got to give it 3 years before you could truly evaluate a draft class. So, and like I said, this is Shane's, in my opinion at least, really Shane's first true year in terms of having, like, his draft, right? He's got his staff. He's had a full year to prepare, right? A full year to prepare. He's been scouting these players all year. He's had his scouts in the building. So this, to me, is like Shane's real first true draft. That's just the way I look at it. So, and I know that they were probably looking at players with, he was with Buffalo the previous year, but still. So that's the way I look at it. But yeah, I have faith in Shane. I think he's going to do a tremendous job this year. I really do. I think we're going to draft a couple of difference makers for sure. And let's see what we got. Will J says there's a theory floating around about Hopkins, a second and a fifth for him. I think that's a little too much for a 30-year-old wideout. Just draft one. Yeah, listen, I'm not going to lie. Like, if they get Hopkins, I'm going to be excited. It's going to kind of be like the Golladay thing. I was excited, but in the back of your head, you're like, there's a good chance this won't work out. Hopkins is 31 next year, I think. He's had injury history. I don't love the idea of trading for Hopkins. I would rather trade for a younger wide receiver. I just don't know if the younger wide receivers are going to be made available. But Godwin's a name I've brought up, and it's funny. Now all of a sudden I've seen it like 4 times. I've been talking about it since like November because I looked at the Bucs. I'm like, Brady's probably going to retire. That team's going to go under, and they're going to start selling their players. Godwin fits the scheme. He's relatively young. He's going to be 27. Like, in the terms of realistic possibilities, I think he may make one of the receivers that may make the most sense in terms of a guy that's obtainable, maybe a guy that won't cost quite as much. So I think a guy like that may make I know he's coming off an injury the year before, but a guy like that may make more sense than a guy like Hopkins, especially if Hopkins is talking about wanting an extension, right? Hopkins is 31. Now, I think we're only going to be responsible for like $18 million or $17 million a year on average over the 2 remaining years on his contract, which isn't bad when you look at the market for wide receivers now. But if he's demanding an extension with that, I would tread carefully if I was Joe Schoen. Let's put it that way. I would tread very carefully if I was Joe Schoen. But I think they'll at least explore the market, and they'll see what the prices are for these wide receivers. And if one makes sense, they'll pull the trigger. Let's see. Brandon Ayuk would be great. I just don't see it happening. I would love him. I think he's tremendous. Like, I could see, and I've said it, I could see Brandon Ayuk having an ascension similar to Stephon Diggs. If he gets put in a situation where he's the number one guy on a team, like the Giants, for example, I could see him having that type of ascension. Stephon Diggs was a really good wide receiver, really good with Minnesota. But once he got the opportunity with the Bills, you really started to see him like become like a top 3 or 4 receiver in the league. I could see. I don't know if Ayuk would reach those levels, but I think he could take a huge step up. He definitely has a ton of potential, creates quick separation. But I just don't think he's going to be available. Yeah, that's the thing. The only reason, Emmanuel, that the 49ers would trade him is if they want to get something and they know they're not going to bring him back. But the thing is with Ayuk, they have 2 more years of control. And they're a team that right now is in their Super Bowl window, right? Like, if you're the 49ers, you're trying to win a Super Bowl. It's why the Ayuk thing never made a whole lot of sense to me. Same thing with Higgins. But, Higgins, they may only have 1 more year of control because he was a second-round pick. So maybe that makes a little bit more sense. I'm not looking at his contract, so if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But Ayuk, you have I think he's entering his 4th year, and then you have the 5th-year option. So for me, if I'm the 49ers, like, I still, going into next year, believe I may have the most talented team in football. Why would I trade the guy? You still have Trey Lance if he's projected to be the starter, or, well, you got to figure he's going to be, especially after Purdy got hurt. I don't think he'll be ready to start the year. So you have a quarterback on a rookie salary. You want to try to capitalize on that. I don't see them trading away Brandon Ayuk. I just don't. Maybe midseason if things start to fall apart, but I don't see it happening before the year. Let's see what we got. Thoughts about Jalen Ramsey projected rumors to us or the Lions? I've seen like loose rumors with that. I'm assuming Jalen Ramsey makes a ridiculous amount of money, right? I haven't even looked. Let's see. Let's see what he's due. I don't think it's going to happen, if that's what you're asking. I don't see us going out there and spending big bucks on a corner. I want the Giants to draft a corner, especially with the strength in this year's draft where we're going to be picking. So Jalen Ramsey next year, I don't know. I think we'd be responsible for the base, which is $17 million. And he's 29. Like, no. I would much rather just draft a corner. We're in a good spot. It's a rich cornerback draft. I don't want to give up premium draft capital for a 29-year-old corner. I just don't. So, no, I'm going to say no to that. What's going on, Baruch, man? Good to see you, man. Let's see. Bengals GM quote on the Higgins rumors made me laugh. He really said, find your own goddamn receiver. What do you expect them to say? But I don't think they're going to be looking to trade Higgins. You still got Burrow on the rookie salary, right? So, like, why would you want to piss Burrow off? I don't see it happening. Not this year anyway. Maybe throughout the year, but not before the year starts. Buck, call in today, Luke, maybe as the stream goes along, but I want to talk to you guys. I haven't been on live in a bit. I want to start doing these weekly, especially as free agency approaches. So I want to get a chance to talk to the chat. But maybe, as we start to have like real topics to talk about after the Daniel Jones contract, free agency, draft, everything else, maybe I'll start taking callers, live shows, so on and so forth. But I kind of want to talk to the chat. What's going on, Buck Josh? What's up, Chris? Let's sign Jones and keep it under 20% of the cap, roughly $40 million. I'm dying inside and need the news ASAP. LL, guys, look at the percentage, not the number. 40 to 45 is not bad. Cap goes up. Listen, I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, I'm not gonna be happy if it's 45. I'm not gonna be happy. But to me, it's all about the guaranteed money and it's all about the structure of the contract. And even if it's 45, which it will not be, I think it's gonna be a deal in the high 30s with incentives that maybe could reach 45. But if he reaches 45 and hits the incentives, he's probably worth the 45, right? They're probably gonna put like Pro Bowl incentives and stuff like that, right? So I think it's gonna be a deal in like the 37, 38 range, with incentives that could maybe reach low 40s, 42, 43, 44, whatever. But yeah, that's been my stance on it now for a while. Like when you first see the money, you're like, oh my God, because that's what quarterbacks make. The market's insane. But it's like Dak Prescott. I see BB13 in here. You bringing up the Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott signed a $40 million a year contract in 2021. The salary cap was 182.5. Do the division. $40 million a year on average off a 182.5 salary cap is 23% of the cap on average. If Daniel Jones were to sign a contract for $38 million off a $225 million salary cap, it's like 15.5%. Like, that's a significant difference. It's starters' money. That's just the way it works. I know it sounds insane, but that's what starters make. And if they could get him on a deal for $37 million a year, $38 million a year, on a 4 or 5 year deal with a 2 or 3 year out, I think that's the approach the chain's going to go with. I don't know what Daniel Jones is demanding. We hear rumors, right? But if they could get him in that $37, $38 million range on a 4 or 5 year deal with a 2 or 3 year out, I do think it makes sense. And talking, man, what's going on, man? He says, DB class looks impressive. Top half of the wide receivers look good as well. First 2 rounds, I feel for one of those positions. AR not reaching 25 and trading up will cost a fortune. So it's not a real wish. Yes, talking Eco, I'm going to tell you the price for everybody that's dreaming about Anthony Richardson. If you want to make sure you get Anthony Richardson, or whoever your quarterback is, Stroud, whoever, if you want to make sure you get that guy, you can't dilly-dally. There's way too many teams that need quarterbacks, and if you're going to trade up and give up that kind of capital, you better be completely sold on the guy. Meaning you better be willing to pay a little bit extra to move up to 5 as opposed to 8, right? So if the Giants want to ensure they get Anthony Richardson, they're going to have to trade up to like 5. Do you know what the price is to jump from 25 to 5? Look at the draft chart. The 5th pick is worth 1,700 points. The 25th pick is worth 720 points. Generally speaking, when you trade up for a quarterback, I've done videos on this in the past. I've done the math. It's usually about 25% more, meaning that if you're jumping up for an early quarterback in the first round, it's about 125% of the points that you're receiving. You have to pay a little bit more if you're trading up for a very early quarterback. So if you were to do that, you figure it has to amount to 2,000 points as opposed to 1,700, right? Our pick is worth about 700 points. I think it's 700 points, the 25th pick. And a future first-round pick is worth a second-round pick, right? That's the way it works. So if you trade 2 future first-round picks, that's about 1,000, 500 apiece, we'll say. Plus the 700, you're talking 1,700. You still have to come up with another 300 points. So you're probably talking 3 firsts, a second, and a fourth, something like that. If you wanted to make a jump like that, Joe Schoen's not doing that. He's not doing it. There's no way he's doing that. Let's see what we got. King Trezzy, man, what's going on, man? I'm excited for our future. We've come so far. Let's go, man. I can't wait, man. I can't wait for next year to see how this team continues to build, man. Let's see. It's going to be more than 3 firsts if you want to do something like that. It's going to be more than 3 firsts. But didn't Brian Dable want Daniel Jones? He's coming back. He's coming back. Will J, what's going on, man? Godwin is going to be making almost 24 2 straight years. You think Joe is going to want to pay for that? We do need a legit one desperately. For what price? Yeah, I mean, listen, let me look at Godwin's contract. I haven't even looked at his contract. I'm going to be honest with you. I haven't even looked at his contract. Now, the $24 million might not be what we're responsible for, right? We know that from the Beckham trade. So it was a 3-year, $60 million contract. I think when you make a trade and you acquire a player, you're responsible for the base salary, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on that. His base salary, yeah, because I think the rest is like the signing bonus, and I think the team that trades him is still responsible for that. I could be wrong on that, but I don't think I am. We'd be responsible for 38.5 if I'm right on that over the next 2 years, 20 and 24, which is a little bit under $20 million a year. It's about $19 million a year on average, which is not that much for a wide receiver today, which I know that's crazy to say, but it's not. You're going to have to pay. If you trade for a wide receiver, you're going to have to pay him. If they're not getting paid already, you're going to have to pay him. So we'll see. We'll see if that's the route that they elect to go. I would rather find our talent in the draft, ideally. I just don't know if they're going to be able to, fill as many holes as they want to before the year starts just from the draft. Nelly, good to see you. Tana, I believe in DJ as our quarterback, and I know what quarterbacks are supposed to be paid, but I can't stomach him paying him anything more with a 4 in front of it. $35 to $37 million a year works for me. I'm stressed. Nelly, I'm going to tell you what I've heard. I'm not gonna say it's definite. I'm gonna try to ease your mind a little bit. It's just what I've heard through the grapevine. I've heard the number is 37.5. I'll say that. That's what I've heard. 37.5. Now I don't know if that's what the Giants won't go off of that and they won't give him more, but that's what I've heard. I heard 37.5 with incentives that could go above 40. That's what I've heard. Take it for what you will. Sacred Does says, if it was up to you, where would you draw the line with Jones? How much money per year is too much? 40, 42, 45? For me, anything over 40, I'm tagging him if I'm Joe Schoen. Because if I'm not just letting him go, I'm tagging him. That's my mindset. Like, he's either getting tagged or I'm signing him to an extension. But if he's above $40 million a year, I'm tagging him. Because I say to myself, I'm probably still going to be able to extend him. Because at the end of the day, let's be real. Daniel Jones and his agent, they're doing what they're supposed to do. They're trying to get as much money as they possibly can. But when push comes to shove, Daniel, if we do tag you, here's your option. You play on a $32.4 million tag, and if you regress or if you get hurt, you're not worth anything next year, right? If Daniel Jones next year, if the Giants win 5 games and Daniel Jones tanks, he's not even going to get a starter salary. And we know the discrepancy between being a starter and being a fringe starter. A fringe starter is going to get $10, $12, $13 million a year. A starter is going to get what Daniel Jones is going to get, $35 million plus, and the market goes up. So when push comes to shove, if you tag Daniel Jones, he would be foolish. If the Giants come to him and say, Daniel, we want to work something out. We want to give you $37, $38 million a year on average. We want to commit $90 to $100 million guaranteed, a 3-year commitment to get to work with Dable. He's going to do it, in my opinion. It's just a matter of when is he going to cave, but he's going to do it. Right now, the way that I look at this discussion right now between Daniel Jones and Joe Schoen, it's a game of chicken. And Daniel Jones is trying to get as much leverage as he possibly can, but once Joe Schoen tags him, he loses that leverage because unless the team's going to be willing to give up 2 first-round picks, which I don't see happening, plus pay him $40 million a year, he's going to have to negotiate exclusively with the New York Giants, or he's going to have to play on the tag and gamble. And if he has a great year, yeah, it'll pay off. But are you going to gamble? Are you going to turn down an extra $65 to $70 million fully guaranteed? I just don't see it happening. It's clearly apparent that Joe Schoen ideally wants to get an extension done, and a realistic extension has to be in the $35 to $38 million range. I can't see it being much less than that. So if you're Daniel Jones and you're not willing to do that and you'd rather play in the tag, I can't see it happening. I think right now he's trying to get as much as he possibly can, but when push comes to shove, if he doesn't lower his number a bit, and maybe it balloons up to 40 or 41 with like possible, incentives that he could hit, but I don't think he's going to end up getting more than, say, 38, 39, maybe. I don't think he's going to get much more than that on a per-year average from the Giants. If he wants more than that, he's going to get tagged, and then they're going to try to work it out. Let's see what we got. Cruz on, what's going on, man? Thanks for popping in, buddy. Zay Flowers will be the best way. I like Zay Flowers, and I think he's a great fit for our offense. Yeah, and he clearly sounds like the type of wide receiver, and I said it, I think, in my latest video. He clearly sounds like the type of wide receiver that Joe Schoen is looking for. A guy that creates quick separation. Yeah, I think he's a really good fit for our offense. So if he's there, I certainly could see him being a target for us. Steve, what's going on, man? I don't know about you, but I'm just ready to see if they pay my boys 26 and Jones because I believe we need them right now. I think they're coming back. I definitely think Jones is coming back. I'm a little bit more iffy with Barkley. I think in the end, they're both going to be back. It's just a matter of is one going to have to play in the tag. But we'll see. We're going to find out real soon, man. Will, Tana, I did watch the Knicks last night. And I'm planning on – I should have called the game last night. How great of a finish was that? But, yeah, I did watch the game last night. Great. Knicks are playing great. Knicks are – what are they? I think we're 11 over now. We've won 8 straight. Julius Randle with the game winner, 43 points, playing out of his mind. I think Randle this year now has, 4 40-point games or something like that. And Brunson has 3 or 4. Like, it's crazy. And I think Barrett, Brunson, and Randle have had 12 or 13 games, I'm not sure, where all 3 of them have scored 20 points or more in the same game, which I think is only the second time in the history of the Knicks that's ever happened. So, and they're playing really good defense when you look at it. I didn't realize it. I was looking at the numbers today. The Knicks this year are like 6th in points, points against in terms of like 6th best in the league. So the Knicks are playing really well. Knicks are playing really well right now. Really excited about them. What's up, Rel, man? Thanks for popping in the stream, man. Let's see. I just want wide receivers who open quick. Well, I think he's a good fit then, Cruz. I think that's your guy. I heard there's not much depth on linebacker, D-line, and wide receiver after the top picks. Huge fall off. I wouldn't be shocked if the Giants take a defensive lineman early on this year. I'm not saying that's our biggest need, but I wouldn't be shocked if we go that route, depending on who falls to them. But linebacker, I think there's some good linebackers. I think there's definitely some good round 2 like Jack Campbell. I thought looked really good today. And I was a fan of him before today. So I think there's definitely some good potential second-round targets for the Giants at linebacker. Talking Eco says, fans, Mara is not interfering. This is Shane and Dable's show. They want DJ back for the right price. I feel that Dable loves him. Dude. I'm not going to say that Mara has no influence. He's the owner. Okay? So he has a little bit of influence. But this is Shane and Dable's show. Okay? They have no ties to Mara at all. It's the first time that's ever happened since Mara's been the owner. He went for a complete outsider. Okay? So, no ties. They completely scrapped the inner workings of the New York Giants. They got rid of the old scouting department, everything. Like, this is Shane's show. And we didn't extend Daniel Jones on the 5th-year option. So, I don't even get that argument. That argument doesn't even make sense to me. I've seen people on Twitter saying that, this is all Mara influenced. No, it's not Mara influenced. This is Joe Shane's show. This is Brian Dable's show. They're making the decisions. Joe Shane was a very high in demand general manager candidate. There's no chance in hell he was taking this job if he thought that Mara was going to be able to influence whether or not he was going to have to keep Daniel Jones. No chance in hell. So people are just saying things, I think, because now they're grasping at straws because they are nervous that Daniel Jones is going to be back with this team, and they just want to find somebody to be mad at. But this is Joe Shane's show, man. Let's see what we got. And trust me, I've been very, very harsh about John Mara in the past. Very harsh. I don't think this is John Mara that's making this decision. Rich, man, what's going on, man? If you were a betting man, which New York team does better next year? Giants or Jets? I haven't looked at the Jets schedule. And it really is pointless to look at the schedules right now because there's so much turnover in the NFL. I know we play each other. I got to see your quarterback. I'm assuming you're a Jet fan, Rich. Maybe you're not. But I got to see who the Jets quarterback is first. I mean, if you get Carr, the Jets have a good team. I thought they had a good team last year. I didn't know they were as good as they turned out to be, but they have a good team. They were obviously being held back from the quarterback. So got to see who your quarterback is before I could really answer that. But I think both teams are going to be good. I think we have the better coach. If you're a Jet fan, I think the Giants have the better coach, so that plays a factor. But I think the Jets definitely have the more well-rounded roster, at least as of now. So it'll come down to who you get at the quarterback and your schedule. But I think both teams will be comparable in the win-loss department. I think it'll be a competitive game when we play the Jets. I think the Jets are good. And if you get a good quarterback, I think you could be probably a playoff team next year. I think you got a good team. Let's see what we got. Drew Sanders, yeah, for sure. The schedule thing to me is nonsense too. I see people say this, and I get it because everybody sees the percentages and the schedule. First off, you can't predict how tough the schedule is going to be before the draft, before free agent. Like half the teams we're going to play on our schedule, you probably don't even know half their starters are going to be. So like the reason that the New York Giants schedule right now is projected to be as hard as it is, well, no crap. What was the Eagles' record last year? What was the Cowboys' record last year? So that's 4 of our games. So that's going to drive up the schedule strength. There's a reason when you look at it that the Cowboys, the Eagles, the Giants have some of the hardest schedules in the league because last year we had, from a record standpoint, the best division in football. So we play each other. So that's going to make the strength of schedule harder. But I look at our outside schedule. I'm not saying it's easy. I don't think it is. But I don't think it's like I'm shaking in my boots. Like, the AFC East, I don't think the Patriots are going to be very good. They're going to be okay. I think us and the Jets are comparable. The Bills are obviously very good. The Dolphins, who knows? I don't know what they're going to look like next year. Tua's getting good, who knows? The NFC West, who knows with the Rams? They could bounce back. They could be a team that kind of is starting to peak. A lot of injuries last year. They're an older team. The Cardinals, if we get them at the beginning of the year with no Kyler Murray, come on. 49ers, obviously very good. Seahawks, who knows? Could have been a one-hit wonder. I don't know. And then the rest of the schedule, the Packers could completely fall off a cliff. I know we play them if they lose Aaron Rodgers. And then you got the NFC South. Every team in that division sucks. I don't even remember who we're playing, but every team in that division sucks. And then we've got, I forgot the other AFC team we play. So, I don't know. Can I see the Giants winning 9 or 10 games next year? I can. Absolutely. I'm not saying we definitely will, but why can't we? We got a really good head coach. Why can't we? I think we can. What's going on, Pete, man? Thank you for the member. It says, philosophical question. Should a player's first priority be to make the most money or win as much as they can? Pete, I'm not, Raiders. Yeah, I don't think the Raiders are great. I'm never going to fault the player for getting as much money as they can. People always point to Tom Brady. Tom Brady was married to Giselle. If Daniel Jones was married to a supermodel that was making billions of dollars, okay. I'm never going to fault the player for trying to get as much money as they possibly can. As a fan, yes. Selfishly speaking, yeah, Daniel, why don't you come back for $10 a year to help the team out? Of course, but at the end of the day, I can't fault these players, especially in football. Football is a sport where if you get hurt, your career is over potentially. Like I said, if Daniel Jones falls out of favor with the organization, he may no longer be valued as a starting quarterback in a year or two, right? So I can never fault these players for trying to make as much money as they possibly can. Can't do it. Especially with the lack of guarantees in football. It's not like baseball where it's a fully guaranteed salary. how these players could get cut 2 or 3 years into their contracts. Of course, I want Jones and Barkley to come back cheaper than what other teams are willing to pay him because it's good for the team. But I can't fault these players for trying to get their money. I can't. I just can't. What's going on, Northeastern Man? Thanks for popping in. Whatever DJ signs for, of course there's going to be haters. Chris D says we got Seattle at home, should win that. They say, who knows? Who knows? It's very hard to project the schedule this early. Who knows, man? Daniel Jones should be selling insurance or driving a beer delivery truck next year. Something. Let's make a gentleman's bet. Daniel Jones is going to be the Giants quarterback in 2024. I already know he's going to be a quarterback in 2023. I think he's going to be a quarterback in 2024, but we'll see. What's going on, ECK, man? Thanks for popping in, buddy. A combination of both is the answer. I don't expect you to take pennies, but it makes sense to sign a deal that helps the organization you play for help you. Listen, if Daniel Jones is smart, and this is why I know I'm pretty sure that the deal is going to have a 2 or 3 year out, and almost all deals do anyway. But if I'm Daniel Jones' agent, I talk to Daniel Jones and I say, you're 25. Let's try to get as much as we can. That's my job, to get you as much money as you possibly can. When they tag you, let's sign this deal for $36, $37 million a year on average. 5-year deal, 3-year out. Daniel, in 3 years, you're going to then get to play, if things go according to plan, 4 straight years with Brian Daboll. This team's only going to get better. We agree, Daniel. We agree that Joe Shane seems to have a good head on his shoulders, seems to have a plan, seems to be the type of guy that's going to build the team the right way. Well, Daniel, if they do that and you improve, you don't even need to become Joe Burrow. You just get better. You get better. And you become a top 10 quarterback by the conclusion of those 3 years. And they don't want to keep you. Well, suddenly, Daniel, you're worth $60 million a year as this market continues to accelerate. So I think Jones is going to want a 3-year out, or 2 or 3 year out, because the market only goes up. He's going to be worth a lot more in 2 or 3 years. And I think the Giants are going to want a 2 or 3 year out because they want to cover their ass in case Daniel Jones does not become what they're hoping he could potentially be. So that's what I think is ultimately going to be. I think it's going to be a 4 or 5 year deal with like a 2 or 3 year out. That's what I think it's going to be. Let's see what we got. Steve, he says, would you like his brother on the team? Whose brother? Whose brother? What's up, Neil, man? Thanks for popping in the stream, buddy. I'm trying to think whose brother you're talking about. Somebody in the chat's going to say it. Oh, Ojulari? I don't know much about him. I mean, I saw his combine. I haven't gotten a chance to watch his highlight clips. It would be cool for him to get to play with Azeez. I'm sure Azeez wants him to play here, BJ Ojulari. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be against it. I don't know a whole lot about him, to be honest with you, but I know that they were talking to him at the combine. But it'd be cool. Hopefully he can stay healthy, something that Azeez hasn't been able to do the last year, if we do, in fact, bring him on with the team. And what's going on, Peter? Says, you didn't answer the question. Okay. Well, I'm going to try to answer this question as best as I can, Pete. I didn't mean to not answer the question. You didn't answer the question. There's 3 main actors in the sport: the players, the organization, and the fans. The fans in the field office care about winning above all, but the players only care about money. We have a conflict of interest. I mean, I don't want to say that the players don't care at all about winning, but yes, I mean, at the end of the day, Pete, yes, I mean, it's a business. It's unfortunate. The fans support the business. We're the fanatics. We're the idiots. We throw hundreds of thousands of dollars to watch this product. There's a reason that a quarterback makes $50 million a year, because we're willing to pay his salary, right? So we're the guys that fund this business. The owner profits from it. But obviously, if the team is winning, the owner makes more money. So he wants to win. The players, I think they want to win, but at the same time, I think obviously they prioritize being able to take care of themselves and their families as best they possibly can. And I know a lot of people here, well, $20 million, $30 million, what's the difference? And that's a very fair opinion. But at the end of the day, I'm never going to fault, because I'm going to tell you what, Pete, if I was in Daniel Jones' situation and you're lying, like, if take out your Giants fan hat, okay? Stop thinking like a Giants fan. You have no connections to the Giants. You're just a good football player. You're on the New York Giants. You get destroyed by the media every day that you go into work. You get destroyed by half the fan base every time you look on social media, probably 75% of the fan base. The team has provided you with nothing. And you know if you sign with this team, you're only going to get more added pressure because you've been a punching bag when you were making $8 million a year. What do you do? If he was a punching bag when his first 4 years with the New York Giants, he's going to, I don't even know how to describe it. The punching bag is going to go from this to this. Like the pressure is going to go up. So all that being said, if I'm Daniel Jones, I'm going to get what I'm worth. That's just the fact of the matter. And the same thing with Saquon Barkley. I can't hate these athletes for trying to get paid. I would love for them to take less money and help my team win. But unfortunately, that's the life of sports. It's a business. But I'd love to have him back at $20 million a year, $25 million a year. What's going on? Jalen Manning's popping in, buddy. If Saquon doesn't play on the tag, we should trade him. He's not going to play on the tag. There's no chance he plays on the tag. If the Giants tag Saquon, I think it's going to be to either I think they're going to try to extend him, but if they can't work out an extension, my guess would be they trade him because I don't think he's going to play on the tag. I'd be surprised if he plays on the tag. What's going on? Jalen says up and been a minute hoping DJ and Saquon. I think they're both going to get re-signed. They'll both be. Well, I don't want to guarantee anything, but I think there's a very good chance they'll both be back. I don't know how long Saquon's commitment's going to be, but I think they're going to try to work something out. Sean says, will you and Bando do a talk? Yeah, I think we're going to probably do a talk of Giants. My guess would be our first talk of Giants will probably be next week because that's when you'll start to get the Daniel Jones news and there'll be more to talk about. So my guess would be sometime next week we'll do our first show. And then obviously we'll probably do it all the way through the draft. What's up, Barry Mannix popping in? Bukau says, hey, Dana, tell me if the transition tag would be a bad thing with DJ. All right, let me explain the tags because I listen, the tags are confusing as hell. And you hear a lot of misinformation. I will explain it to the best of my ability to the way that I understand it. I think I know it. But let me read the rest of this. Hey, Dana, tell me if the transition tag would be a bad thing with DJ. We all get to see what is real value, and if it's over, where we want to go. I think we get two number ones, good or bad idea. Okay, so the transition tag, and somebody in the chat, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think I am. The transition tag, you do not receive 2 first-round picks. The transition tag is the cheapest of the 3 options. You have the transition tag, you have the non-exclusive tag, and you have the exclusive tag. Okay? So the way the transition tag works, I'm pretty sure, is it's about $29 million, and all it really is just a placeholder, and Daniel Jones has the ability to go out there and get any kind of contract that a team is willing to offer him. So Carolina could pay him $40 million a year, and then the Giants have the option to match that contract. And if they don't match the contract, basically all they're going to get is a compensation pick. That's what the transition tag is. Then you have the non-exclusive tag, which is what you're describing. The non-exclusive tag is $32.4 million. So it's about $3.5 million. But for a quarterback specifically, it makes a lot more sense because of the insurance you just described. You get the 2 first-round picks if a team is willing to take him off of your hands. If they're willing to pay him more than $32.4 million and you're not willing to match the contract, you get 2 first-round picks. So that's the non-exclusive. And the exclusive, which I don't see anybody doing. I don't even think the Ravens are going to do it with Lamar Jackson. It's like $44 million, and teams don't even have the option to negotiate with your client. So those are the 3 tags. So the non-exclusive tag at 32.4 for me with Daniel Jones, that pretty much works just as well as the exclusive because I don't really see a team willing to give up 2 first-round picks and pay Daniel Jones upwards of $40 million a year. It could happen, I guess. I don't think it's going to. That's the option that I think they're going to take if they cannot work out a contract extension. I think they're going to go with the non-exclusive. The transition to me doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I don't see that happening. Let's see what we got. Pete, man, what's going on, man? I don't know if you want to make the most money possible, become a hedge fund manager. You choose to play a sport. The point of the sport is to win. So do everything you can to win. Rant over. Pete, I'm with you. Like, as a fan, I'm with you. Daniel, what are you doing? Take the $25 million a year. Give this team more room to go get the wide receiver. Give this team more room to get the linebacker. Give this team – help us help you, to quote Cuba Gooding Jr. from Jerry Maguire. Help me help you. Okay? I'm with you. But if I'm trying to be fair and analyze it from the player's perspective in a sport in which you can lose your career overnight and these teams cut these guys on a whim and these contracts are only like half guaranteed and the life of a pro football player on average is like 3 years, I can't blame these guys for trying to get their money when they can. So I'm with you, but at the same time, you got to be realistic. Mike, man, they were much, man. Tana, are you still going to do the midday stream like last year? The week? Yeah, that's the plan at least, Mike. If not midday, then maybe a little bit after midday, because I'm probably gonna be working. But I get out at 4:30 and I work from home most days anyway, so maybe a little bit after the midday. But yes, that's the plan that week to be doing streams leading up into the draft. Yes. Let's see. That was Tom Cruise. Oh, my bad. That was Tom Cruise. Big Joe, you're right. Help me help you. By the way, Big Joe, and everybody that's popping in here knows I'm a huge movie guy. I have not seen it. There's so many good movies coming out this month, by the way. You got Creed 3 just came out. I haven't seen that. You've got the new John Wick coming out. There's like 3 other movies that are really good. But I don't know where I was going with that. I was going somewhere with that, and I forgot it. It was about Jerry Maguire, but I forgot where I was going with that. Oh, Jerry Maguire to me is Scream 6 is coming out as well. Jerry Maguire to me is arguably the most quotable movie ever. There's so many one-liners. I mean, obviously, you also got My Cousin Vinny, but there's so many one-liners from Jerry Maguire. What's going on, Sean? Man, thanks for popping in, buddy. And Dustin, man, thank you very much, man. He says, did you see Dan Duggan's report of CAA telling DJ his contracts once were crazy, allegedly why he fired them? I suppose that's possible, Dustin, but to me, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Why would an agency fire Daniel Jones because he wanted too much money? Why would CAA? Why would CAA do that? That like CAA benefits by Daniel Jones getting as much money as he possibly can. So if DJ comes to them and says he wants $46 to $47 million a year, they should at least shoot for that. I don't get that. I don't why would they? I don't understand that. But maybe I'm wrong on that. To me that sounds like a bad agent. You should be trying to get as much money as you possibly can. You had me at a low. Yeah, there's so many one-liners from that movie. What's up, Carl, man? Creed 3 was good? Yeah, I heard it was good. The first 2 Creeds were really good. Al says, let's say you got him and traded for the Bears first rounder this year instead of last year's pick, and we had the first overall pick this year. Would you trade the pick or DJ? If we had the first pick, I'm taking a quarterback. You're taking a quarterback if you have the first pick, but we don't have the first pick. Yeah. 9 times out of 10, if you have the first pick, especially, like, we're not even in a situation with the Bears where the Bears still have Fields on a rookie contract for the next 2 years. With Daniel Jones, you have to pay him $40 million, or you could draft the best quarterback in the draft in a pretty rich quarterback draft class. But we don't. It's not happening. What's going on, Pete? Man, thanks pop. What's going on, Philip? Man, thanks popping in, man. What's going on, Hot Nichols? He says, how's your night going, E? I heard we're going to sign DJ for $39 million. That's about the ballpark I've heard. I've heard 37, 37 and a half, 38. Now, that's about the ballpark I'm hearing. With incentives that could reach upwards of low 40s. I mean, Rel, 9 times out of 10, if you have the first overall pick and it's even a good quarterback draft class, you're probably taking a quarterback. Young Joe says, you see what Pat Leonard said about DJ wanting even more than 40? I don't really care what they have to say. Daniel Jones can want whatever he wants. That doesn't mean he's going to get it. I want to date Gail Gadot. Am I going to get the date her? You know, I want to live in Hawaii. Is that going to happen? Probably not. I hope we keep DJ Barkley in Love. Is this even possible? It's possible. I don't think we're going to keep Love, though. I'd be pretty surprised if we keep Love. What's up, Raphael, man? Thanks for popping in, buddy. What would you think about us drafting BJ? Yeah, somebody asked that earlier. It'd be cool, he gets to play with his brother. It'd be cool. And Donovan, man, what's going on, man? You can be Wonder Man. What's up, goofballs? Donovan, what's going on? He says, "Do you think a DJ deal gets done by Tuesday?" I do. I think the Giants are going to get a deal done with Daniel Jones before the tag deadline. Yes, I'm not guaranteeing it, but yes, I would say 80%. I'm 80% that they're going to get a deal done before the tag. Yes. What's up, Ron? Thanks for popping in, buddy. Shane, Dable, Jones, Barkley is too good of a nucleus. Chase says, Chris, can we get DeAndre? We can. I don't think we might. I mean, it'll depend on his price. I think we're going to at least explore it. What do I think is the price fly? I think it's going to be 38. We'll say 38. I think it's going to be 38 with incentives that could reach 42. But it's going to be 38. That's what I'm guessing. 38 per 4 or 5 year deal. That's my guess. But it's just a guess. Give Saquon a Zeke deal. He deserves it. No, not doing that. DQ. Not doing that. And obviously, I see from your profile picture you love Saquon, and I love Saquon. I think that's Saquon. It's hard to see. I think that's a 26. So obviously, I see from your profile picture you love Saquon, and I love Saquon. But no, we ain't giving Zeke deals. How did that work out for the Dallas Cowboys? We ain't giving Zeke deals. It's not about the player. It's about the team. We're not giving Zeke deals. We're not giving 6-year deals to running backs that are 26 coming off an Achilles tear a couple of years ago, or an ACL tear, I should say. So, no, not doing that. Saquon's either going to get tagged or he's going to get like a 3-year deal with a 2-year out. That's what it's going to be if he's back with the Giants. They're not giving him 4 or 5 years for $15 million a year. It's just not happening. Let's see what we got here. I love the Knicks. I think they're playing great. I'm going to do the game tomorrow, but I think they're doing great. Love the Knicks. I think we're going to win. I think the Knicks are going to win a playoff series. I really do. I think we're going to beat the Cavs. Barkley's value is a security blanket, let alone the team. Let's see. Are we getting Jordan Poyer? Yeah, I've seen a lot of people link Poyer to the Giants because obviously his ties with from our GM and our head coach. I saw a Twitter video where Jordan Poyer, I don't know who he was talking to. I don't know if he has like a YouTube channel or if he was on Instagram, but somebody asked him about what his desired free agency location would be if he were to leave the Bills. And he said, someplace where the taxes are not high. Well, we're out. And then I think he said somewhere with warm weather. Well, we're out. So California's screwed and the Giants are screwed. The Jets are screwed. He ain't going there. So I don't see him coming here. Chris, have you been to yeah, I've been to the Garden several times to see the Knicks. I try to go to at least like 2 games a year to see the Knicks. Not this year. I haven't been to the Garden yet this year. Maybe I'll probably try to get to a game before the end of the year. But I did go. I went to 2 games last year. Is it Jones asking 45 mil? I think he will take 42. 38 might be too low. We'll see. I mean, we'll see, Fly. We're going to see soon what he ultimately signs for. I don't think he's getting 45. I'll say that. I'd be surprised if he gets 45. Maybe 40. Glenn says Saquon is not a running back. He is 2 in 1 wide receiver and running back hybrid. Saquon's great. I love Saquon. But you're not giving him a 5-year deal. You're not giving him a 4-year deal. And if it is a 4-year deal, it's going to be half guaranteed. You can't. He's 26. Somebody in the chat, find this for me. Find this for me where a team gave a 26-year-old running back. 26. I think he should be. Let me look at his age. When does he turn 27? Saquon Barkley is 26, so he'll be 27 at the end of next year. So he'll be like 26 and a half at the beginning of next year. So find me a contract where a team gave a 26-year-old running back who's going to be 27 at the end of the year a 4 or 5 year deal where he got $15 million a year coming off an ACL tear. It's just not a good deal. It's not going to happen. I love him. I want him back, but we're not going to give him that. We're just not. I'm hoping we can get a deal done like this. That's what I'm hoping. I think that's like realistic. I think Shane may be willing to go to that. I'm hoping it's like 4 years, 50, where maybe 30 is guaranteed. Something like that. That's what I'm hoping, because I think that's like a realistic contract that Shane would probably be willing to sign. And I think it's like at least close to the ballpark of what Saquon Barkley would be able to get. So that's what I'm hoping. I think that's like a realistic contract if he's back with the Giants. Let's see. What's going on, Andrew, man? Good to see you, man. Thanks for popping in. Nelson. He says, take less money. I mean, we all want him to take less money. Somebody said, all jokes aside, if you think Saquon is more important to keep than Jones, then you don't understand football. Yeah, I mean, listen, I love him. I love both of them. But, yeah, I'm going with the quarterback. If I got to pick one, I'm going with the quarterback. What's up, Spencer, man? Thanks for popping in, man. But I think they're both very important to the team. Yup, never gets hurt and produces better than Barkley. Oh, you're talking about another running back? What's up, amazing guy, man? Thanks for popping in, buddy. Just hang out with the chat here. All jokes aside, if you think... I already read that. What's going on, Nikki, man? Good to see you, man. You had me at stand up. What's up, Brian? I've given up on Saquon. He could be coming back. I have not given up on Saquon coming back, but I don't think he's going to get a $15 million a year contract. Everyone wants him to take less. Those you make it $35,000 a year. Are you going to turn down $45K a year? Same concept. It's not happening. And for Saquon, it's even more true than a guy like Daniel Jones, right? Because Daniel Jones, you could at least say, well, he's a quarterback. He's probably, if he plays well, he's going to be able to get paid into his mid to late 30s. This is Saquon's one shot at a contract. He's not taking less. I mean, we'll see. I hope he does, but I don't think he's going to take much less to stay with the Giants than go somewhere else. Triple Crown says, how about the Mets? I'm excited for the Mets this year. I think they're going to win over 100 games, and we'll see if they can do some damage when they get to the playoffs. Tana, forgive me if you've already answered this, but did you see Rand? Yeah, I did. 43 points, game-winning shot. He's a beast. I think like 90% of Knicks fans owe Julius Randle a big-time apology. Glenn says, but DJ's worth 30 plus. Tell me which team's paying DJ. Glenn, I hope you don't find out, because that means we're going to lose him, and I don't want to lose Daniel Jones this year. I guarantee you. Let me ask you this, Glenn. Do you think Joe Shane's a smart guy? Because I think he is. I think he comes across as a pretty smart guy. Do you think he's a smart guy? Do you think he's an idiot? I don't think he's an idiot. If Joe Shane tags Daniel Jones, that's exactly what he's telling you. Otherwise, you wouldn't tag him. Why would you tag him? If he honestly felt that Daniel Jones was not going to get more than $30 million by another team on the open market, he's not going to tag him. Daniel, go find out what you're going to get. I'm not giving you 32.4. Go find out what you're going to get. And when a team only offers you 26, come back to me, and then we'll work out a deal. So basically what you're saying, you think Joe Shane's an idiot. He's not an idiot. I guarantee you. Look how many teams in the NFL right now need a quarterback. Quarterbacks are valuable. And it's not often that a young quarterback with at least the potential of a guy like Daniel Jones becomes available in free agency. It just isn't. He's 25 years old. He's as young as some of the quarterbacks coming out in this year's draft. He just won a playoff game on the road. He has tools. A team is absolutely, I guarantee you, going to give him high 30s. I guarantee it. Maybe 40s if he were to hit free agency. I guarantee it. Which is exactly why Joe Shane would tag him. Joe Shane's not an idiot. See, this is the other thing I hear. There's the other thing I hear. Why do you think he's not tagged yet, Glenn? Why do you think Daniel Jones is not tagged yet? I'm going to let the chat answer that because it's pretty obvious. Why have the New York Giants not used the franchise tag yet on Daniel Jones? First off, there's no incentive to do it before the tag deadline, but why have they not tagged him yet? I think it's pretty friggin' obvious. But let me, no, it's not because of the cap. It's not because of the cap. Let me get to this. Will, man, what's going on, man? Thanks for popping in the stream. Well, you could get a deal after the tag. So it's not that. Ding, 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 ding. Somebody give Hibbigus the prize. Somebody give Ape the prize. Ding, 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 ding. You could only use one tag. Can't use two. If you use the tag on Daniel, you can't use the tag on Saquon. There's no rush for them to use the tag before the last day. So why would you tag Daniel on March 4th when you're hoping to get an extension done with him so you could use the tag on Saquon Barkley? The tag for Saquon Barkley is $10 million. It's not 32.4. It gives you more time to work out a deal with Saquon Barkley. So you can only use one tag. If Barkley wasn't a free agent, they may have already tagged Daniel Jones, but they're both free agents at the same time. So that's the reason why they haven't tagged Daniel Jones yet. Let's see what we got. Will says this is why we're in a predicament. All those years of wasting Jones and Barkley rookie contracts now bit us in the ass. Now they want their money. I don't blame them, but this is a business at the end. Yeah, I mean, listen, we didn't capitalize on the rookie salaries. We didn't because Dave Gettleman did a horrible job. He did. He did a horrible job. He found some pieces. Dexter Lawrence, Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, Old Ojulari, a couple of other pieces, McKinney, but Love. But he failed. He didn't build the team the way that he said he was going to when he took the job. So yeah, we weren't able to capitalize on their rookie salaries. I don't think Barkley's playing on the tag either, Sherrod, but I think they could initially tag him and try to work out a deal. But no, I agree with you. I don't think he's playing on the tag. Phenopolis, man, what's going on, man? High anxiety offseason. Somebody in the chat said that we should let Jones walk and grab Stroud in the draft. So I reported as misinformation. I think we should do that too. I think we should. This is what I think the Giants should do. I think the Giants should just let Daniel Jones walk. I think they should call up the Chicago Bears. And I think they should offer him the 25th pick this year, the first-round pick next year, the first-round pick in 2025, and the first-round pick in 2026. So that way, we could bring in C.J. Stroud to a team that has no wide receivers, that has a crappy offensive line, and a team that won't have any first-round picks for the next 3 years. I think that's a great idea. That's exactly what I think the New York Giants should do. I think that's how we're gonna get this team back to where they need to be. I think that's a great idea. I think that's fantastic. What's going on, Carl, man? Thanks for popping in the stream, man. What's going on, Elvis? Nikki says, Chris, after today, JSN pumped from my wide receiver 4 up to wide receiver 2. All right, listen, he's definitely got potential. I know it ain't happening, but Anthony, we're not. Yeah, I don't think we're getting Anthony Richardson. And Eli, man, what's going on, man? Thank you so much for the 99-cent donation, man. I appreciate it, man. Sarcasm meter just broke. Thanks. What's up, Sean? What's going on, Ruben? That's not. If you think that's fine, if you think he's better, but that's not the question. The question is it a good idea to give up the next 4 first-round picks for a quarterback with the situation the Giants currently have? That's the question. Let's see what we got. Nobody a Slayton fan? I'm a Slayton fan if he's willing to come back here for $4 million a year. Sure. If he wants 9 or 10, I'm a fan of a comp pick. Sayonara. What's up, Sean, man? Thanks for popping in. It's not happening. It's not happening. Anthony Richardson's going top 10. It's not happening. You know how many teams need a quarterback? There's no way he gets out of the top 10. He might not get out of the top 5 with the day that he had today. There's no way Anthony Richardson's getting out of the top 10. What's up, King? He says, imagine Richardson behind this offensive line with these receivers. He had more talent in Florida and was below 50% thrower. I'm not going to get into bashing him before he even plays in the NFL, but it's not an ideal situation for him. I'll tell you that, especially if we got to trade up to get him. Chris, what position will we pick in the first? BPA, best available player. But, I mean, it's gonna be a corner or wide receiver. Like, I'm 95% on that. It's going to be a corner or wide receiver, just based off of where these guys are projected to go, what our needs are. It's going to be a corner or wide receiver with an outside chance that we could take a center. What's going on, Film? He says, I swear some fans have no idea how the business side of sports works. There's a process to building a winning team. Yeah, and I think there's multiple ways to fill that process. Like, there's multiple ways to build a good football team. And no matter what Shane decides to do, I'm going to give him a chance. Whether that's stick with Jones and give him the 4 or 5 year deal with a 2 or 3 year out, which I think is the best course of action right now, based off where this team is as an organization, or whether it's identifying Anthony Richardson as the Messiah and giving up 3 first-round picks to go up and get him. I was like, okay, Shane thinks he's going to be Pat Mahomes. Let's ride it. Let's go. And then you got to hope in the next 2 or 3 years that's what he becomes. So I'm going to go with whatever Shane decides to do, and I'm going to at least give him a fair chance. So that's where I'm at. Let's see what we got. Stetson Bennett. I don't want Stetson Bennett. What's up, Fabian, man? Thanks for popping in, buddy. Yeah, I'm going to be calling the Knicks game tomorrow. I think we signed Jones $41.5 million 4-year deal, and then maybe. We'll see. Every year at the Combines, they always blow up the quarterbacks. Well, yeah, last year you saw them do it with Malik Willis, right? I mean, they were making Malik Willis out to be – you guys all remember it if you watched the Combine. They were talking like he was going to be a top 5 pick. I had people on YouTube, guys I respect, like big-time YouTubers, mocking him first overall the night before the draft. So, yeah, quarterbacks always get overblown. Haskins and Locke over Jones, never forget. No. See, that's not DJ. This is where we have DJ. This is where we just don't match up. I'm trying to come up with the right word. That's not the possibility. It's not like that's not a fair question. Why would you pay Daniel Jones $38 to $40 million a year over drafting one of these quarterbacks? That's not what we would have to do. The question is, why would you pay Daniel Jones $38 million a year over giving up 3 first-round picks to go up and draft one of these quarterbacks? If we were drafted 5th overall, it's a different conversation, DJ. We're drafting 25th with a team with we got more holes than Swiss cheese. That's a completely different conversation. What's going on, Mike? Thanks for popping in, buddy. Yeah, we don't see eye to eye. Exactly. Which position do you focus on for linebacker? Maybe I think we're going to draft a wide receiver too. Sign a wide receiver too, but I don't think it's going to be a high, like a high priced wide receiver. But I think we'll get like a moderately priced wide receiver. Let's see what we got. Tag DJ, and then if he craps the bed, we draft quarterback next year with a better pick. I wouldn't cry about it if they tag DJ. I definitely think there's some negatives that could come out of a franchise tag of Daniel Jones that I've talked about. Couple of things. If you tag Daniel Jones and he doesn't crap the bed, because obviously everybody that wants to tag Daniel Jones thinks he's going to crap the bed, which is why they want to tag him. But if you do, just like everybody, the people that want to tag Daniel Jones this year thought he was going to crap the bed this year. He didn't crap the bed. So if Daniel Jones does the same thing next year and doesn't crap the bed and they make the playoffs, well, now you got to take him for $38 million a year, or you got to give him an extension where you got to pay him even more money and you got to commit to him for more years, right? Because you committed to this year, and if he signs a 4 or 5 year deal next year, well, then it's a 2 or 3 year commitment off of next year, not this year. So if you tag him and you lose, you end up spending more. And the other thing is, if you tag him, it's going to affect the 2024 cap because you're going to have to backload all this. If they tag Daniel Jones, you don't think they're going to sign other players to try to fill out this roster to try to see if Daniel Jones can improve as a quarterback next year? Otherwise, why would you tag him? So the players that you bring in and sign, that's going to affect the 2024 cap because you're going to have to backload those salaries because of the effect of the tag on Daniel Jones. So there's definitely like negative ramifications to tagging Daniel Jones. It's not as cut and dry as, it's only a 1 year commitment. So that's the main reason why I think Shane wants to extend him. I think it's why he'd prefer that over the tag. What about a tag and trade? I mean, what's the offer, Charlie? Yes, he is. Kirk Cousins is brilliant when it comes to the franchise tag. He worked that brilliantly. He made as much money as he possibly could. Better $30 million in winning team than $45 million a crappy team. It's still a lot of money. Why do I get the feeling that a lot of Giants fans want Jones to fail because they want Jeff Hostetler back? Well, I don't think that's it. I do think a lot of them do want Jones to fail. DJ says, why not just get Caleb next year? You think it's that easy to get Caleb Williams? Let me ask you, DJ. Who do you think's the worst team in the NFL right now? Who do you think, if you had to guess right now, who do you think's going to have the first pick next year? I'll just throw out a team. I will say the Chicago Bears. Let's say the Chicago Bears get the number 1 pick again next year. Okay? If they have the number 1 pick again next year and they have the chance to take Caleb Williams, you could offer them 8 first-round picks. If they feel he's the next Trevor Lawrence, they're not going to trade out of it. They're going to take him. So it's not easy to just be, let's just play out the year and get Caleb Williams. It's not the way it works. If the guy's an incredible quarterback prospect and the team needs a quarterback, they're not trading the pick. It's not happening. Texans, whoever, yeah. Texans, maybe the Colts. Colts probably wouldn't take a quarterback, though, because I think they're going to draft a quarterback in this year's draft. Chris, if I was the GM, I'd give away every pick we have the next 10 years to draft Anthony Richardson. See, I don't need a quarter. We don't want him to fail. We just don't see him as a guy that can win a Super Bowl. Yeah, I definitely think a lot of fans see it that way, and that's a fair way to see it. I don't even know if I see him as a guy that can win a Super Bowl. I don't know yet. I honestly don't. I just think right now, with the situation we're currently in, it's best to find out if he could become that. And if he can in the next 2 or 3 years, you move on. That's where I'm at with Daniel Jones, based off of where we currently are. You brought up Caleb Williams. Is Caleb Williams going to be a late draft pick, DJ? He's not going to be a late draft pick. He's going to be the first pick in the draft. What's up, Luann? Thanks for popping in. I think we've seen DJ's floor this year. I agree. People call me crazy because they just look at stats. I think DJ's floor is Alex Smith. I think DJ's floor is what Alex Smith became. That's his floor. I think he's going to be better than that, but I think that's his floor because they just look at stats. Yeah, well, Alex Smith was with Andy Reid and Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, but I think that's his floor. I think he's going to be better than that. And Buck Josh, what's going on, man? He says, I feel DJ was hit hard during the Joe Judge era. We're not tanking or trading 10 first-round picks for a damn quarterback. Daniel Jones, he's going to be here for at least the next 2 or 3 years. That's the way I see it right now. Who's the quarterback you're going to get at 25, Glenn? Give me a name. Who's the quarterback? I'd love to hear it. And don't tell me Hendon Hooker. Hendon Hooker's 25, coming off an ACL tear. Daniel Jones is younger than Hendon Hooker. Who's the quarterback you're going to get at 25? I'd love to know. Let's see what we got. We definitely got the right coach for the job. They're the same age then, Cole. They're both 25. Same age. So if I said that's his floor, so if he is Alex Smith, let's get the next version. I agree, Jamil. I agree with that. I just don't think right now. This is the way I've explained it all year. Daniel Jones to me is either going to be our Alex Smith for the Chiefs, or he's going to evolve into, not obviously Pat Mahomes, but he's going to evolve into the franchise quarterback. Alex Smith was used as a 3 or 4 year bridge after they signed him and they built up the team. That's the stage we're at right now. We're building up this team with a new regime. 2 or 3 years with Jones, see what he becomes. If he's not the guy and the team is more developed, you then all of a sudden don't feel bad about having to give up 2 or 3 first-round picks to go up and get a quarterback because you know you can maximize his abilities. So I agree. I just don't think right now we're in the position to go up and swing for a Pat Mahomes level prospect with all the other holes we have on this football team. Let's see what we got. Autistic says, my concern about DJ is that we played a lot of weak defenses this year, and Jones got pretty lucky with some bad defenses, but becoming turnovers in the division with 3 good defenses. We went, we got to get better in the division. I don't think that's all on DJ. I think we didn't have a very good team, but yes, we got to start winning games in the division. Todd says, I think DJ is the highest graded Giants quarterback in history. Check the stats. I don't care about the stats personally. I think stats are kind of misleading, especially when you're talking era to era. Like, obviously, his stats should look better than a guy like Phil Simms, for example, because Phil Simms played in the 80s. They weren't throwing the ball back then, right? Quarterbacks weren't running, like they are today. There's more points scored today than there were back then. So that, to me, is kind of misleading. But I think Daniel Jones is a good quarterback. We'll find out if he could be more than that. I'm okay with signing DJ to a middle deal, see if he could be good, not top money, but worth a look, and I don't like the guy. Yeah, well, Slink, I agree. But I think where the disconnect is with, like, a lot of fans is $35 to $38 million is middle money for a quarterback. That's middle money today. That's middle money. I know that's insane, but that's middle money. I don't want to give up 3 first-round picks, DJ. No, I don't. I don't think we're in a place right now to give up 3 first-round picks. No, I do not want to give up 3 first-round picks. Ramdre says, what would you pay Hodgins? Obviously, he's not a number 1, but he's solid. Well, he's already under contract next year, $870,000. Let me see how he plays this year. But, I mean, if he plays well, yeah, I mean, I don't know what his market would be. But let me see how he plays this year. But, yeah, I'm excited for Hodgins next year. He played great for the Giants last year. I understand it. I mean, I think there's legitimate reasons. I think it was Jamil. It's a fair point. I could understand somebody having the mindset, I don't think he could win us a Super Bowl. I could at least understand that. I don't think that's crazy for somebody to think that. But I also think that there are some fans that just can't stand the guy. And they just want to be proven right that he can't win. And they don't even want him to get the opportunity as this team improves to see what he could become. I think those fans are wrong, personally. Let's see. Tiny Tiger says, I think we tag Daniel Jones to save money and we pay Saquon. Tagging but Tiny Tiger, tagging Daniel Jones, this is the other thing I love. Daniel Jones is a system quarterback. Most quarterbacks are system quarterbacks. There's like 3 quarterbacks who aren't system quarterbacks. Like, every quarterback is going to look better in a good system. Like Tua Tagovailoa is a system quarterback. You could say that Jalen Hurts is probably a system quarterback. Lamar Jackson is a system quarterback. Take Lamar Jackson out of the Baltimore Ravens system, he doesn't look as good. So, yes, he's a system quarterback, but that, like, teams are supposed to build their systems around their players. So, yes, he's a system quarterback. Let's see what we got. Lamar Jackson's a system quarterback. People say he's elite. He's a system quarterback. Let's see what we got. Let's see. He won me over, but not 40. I agree. I'm not giving him $45 million. Good coaches build a system around the player, all quarterback. Of course. Lamar Jackson's great, but they built a system around Lamar. That's not a knock on Lamar. It's just they built a system for him to prosper. What's going on? What's going on in Popular Opinion Sportsman? Thanks for popping in. What's going on, Caden? No, I didn't see Creed 3 yet. These players are making so much. It's starting to be a turnoff to watch mediocrity getting so much money, but I guess it is what it is. They chose. Yeah, I mean, listen, there's only so many quarterbacks that there's only 15 to 20 quarterbacks that could play at a starter's level in the NFL, at least decent. That's why they're worth as much as they are. Lamar's great. But I think Daniel Jones could be good. That's it. I'm done with the Daniel Jones. I'm not even going to – Lamar Jackson's better than Daniel Jones right now. I'm not going to get into that debate. Daniel Jones is going to be – I think fans need to realize that Daniel Jones is going to be the starter next year. He's going to be the starter next year one way or another. You could fight it all you want. You could complain about it all you want. He's going to be the starter. So let's see what he can become second year with Brian Daboll, whether he's assistant quarterback or not. That's what's going to happen. You could have your fantasies in your head that the Giants could still trade. They could tag and trade them. They could trade up and give up 4 first-round picks to get a quarterback. I heard the same thing last year with Malik Willis. Daniel Jones is going to be the quarterback next year. I've been pretty sure of it since about week 6 or 7. I am positive of it now. He's going to be the quarterback next year. So let's find out what the kid could do. Second year with Brian Daboll. Let's see what he could become. We get 2 years now, I think, to probably analyze the guy and see what he could possibly become. That's it. That's where we are right now. Everyone's so mad at how much Jones is going to make, but no one is upset at how much the owners make. Yeah, it's running back is the bigger question, not sold if Barkley comes back. I agree. Why is DJ's contract talks gone from under 30? Well, I think Patrick, I mean, after the year ended, and I think people had a chance to really figure out what the market was going to be. I don't think many people thought it was going to be under 32 because the franchise tag was 32. So if you're Daniel Jones, what's your incentive to sign for under $32 million a year? You could just say, okay, I'll force them to tag me, knowing that they're going to tag him. So once people realized that, I think most people were like, yeah, you're talking at least $34, $35 million a year. Like, that's the floor. If it's an extension, that's the floor. Yeah, that's just the floor. What is the problem with DJ being the court? I don't want another court. You're going to be happy then because he's going to be back next year. Oh, here we go. $45 million for an average guy. Blah, 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 blah. Let's see if he even gets $45 million. Did Alex Smith ever rush for 700 yards or 7 touchdowns or lead the league in interception? No, he did not. Well, he may have in interception to touchdown ratio. That I don't know because he didn't throw a lot of interceptions, but definitely didn't have 700 yards rushing. I can tell you that. Next raise time at your workplace is negotiate for less money. Are you bringing back Slayton for $7 or $8 million? I'm not. And I don't hate Slayton. I like Slayton for $4 million. But no, I'm not giving him $7 or $8 million. I could find a receiver in the draft with speed and pay him $800,000 a year. I like Slayton. I think he's a fine wide receiver, 3 or 4 on a good wide receiving core. But I'm not giving him $8 million. I'm just not. And Harrison, what's going on, man? If DJ's serious about a career, he'll take a very reasonable 3-year, $40 million. You mean $40 million total? You don't mean $40 million total. You're talking about $40 million a year. Let me read the rest of it. 3 years, $40 million. Does he really want to hit the reset button again? I think chances are high he'll struggle on one of these quarterback-needy teams. I'm assuming you mean $40 million a year for 3 years, maybe not much guaranteed, because 3 years, $40 million, that's backup salary. He's not taking that. Not total. Yeah, I was like, I think Harrison's smarter than that. So, yeah. So 3 years, 40 with like a 2-year out. Yeah, I mean, maybe 70 or 80 guaranteed. I think DJ, if he's smart, in the end, he's going to take a little bit less than what he thinks he's worth. And I'm going to explain to you guys my personal opinion. And I know that people see this $45 million number. And I made a video. I don't want to sign Daniel Jones for $45 million. If he comes at the Giants with $45 million, I'm tagging his ass. And he's lowering his demands if I'm Joe Schoen. But I'm going to explain from DJ's perspective, and I know people say he's crazy to ask for that, he's nuts. I'm going to talk about it from DJ's perspective, okay, and his agent's perspective, and the guy talking in DJ's ear. I know, like, the fans that can't stand Daniel Jones are going to say he's not. But be real. Do you think it's crazy for Daniel Jones to think he's the 11th or 12th best quarterback in football right now? I don't think that's crazy, right? Obviously, a lot of you guys think it is. You think he's like the 40th best quarterback. You think he's the 98th best quarterback. But do you think it's crazy for Daniel Jones to think he's like the 12th best quarterback in the NFL? I don't think that's crazy, especially when you factor in that he could potentially get better and he's young. So if I'm his agent, I say to Daniel, well, look, this is why you're worth $45 million, or this is why we could at least go to the Giants and ask for $45 million. If you sign for $45 million today, you're going to be, I think it's the 5th or 6th highest paid quarterback per year in the NFL. But by the time the season starts, Hurts, Herbert, Burrow, that's 3. Suddenly you're down to 9. Who am I forgetting? There's like 4 others. Like, he would be like the 12th highest paid at that price by the second year of that contract. So I'm not signing for $45 million, but I'm at least explaining to why, like, Daniel Jones probably said to himself, that's my market. Because in 2 years, I'm going to be the 12th or 13th highest paid quarterback. And I think I'm close to a top 10 quarterback right now. So that's why I think he came to that with that. But if I'm Joe Schoen, I'm not paying him that. I'm saying you're bringing down your demands. I'm tagging you, and we're going to try to work out a deal in the $36, $37 million range. But that's why, if those reports are true, why I think his agent and him came to the Giants and said, yeah, we're going to start here. We're going to start at that $45 million mark. Let's see. I'm not saying he's right, but and Jamil, man, thank you very much, man, for the $2 donation. I appreciate it, man. Fabian says, at this point, let's see what happens. What if he's him? I mean, we're going to find out if he's him, because I think he's coming back. So hopefully he is him. Chris, I want Jones we all want Jones at a lower price. We all don't want to overpay. You think I'm rooting for Daniel Jones to get $45 million a year? There's no way. I want Daniel Jones to sign in for $20 million a year. But I'm also living in the world of reality. And he's getting at least 36, 37. That's where I'm at right now. And I hope we get him for as cheap as we possibly can. Is $39 million. I think that's about like right before I would consider it an overpay. I think that's at my peak, like 38, 39. Like, that's where I'm like, that's like where I am with him. Like, that's like the peak of like what's fair value for him. Like between 35 to 38. That's what I've said. So like 39 is a little bit above that. Based off the market. Nichols says, what's the word on Saquon? Do we have to wait till after DJ signs to find out? I think they're waiting to sign DJ, or hoping to sign DJ before the tag deadline. Because that's why it's like very hard to make offseason content before I find out what they do with Daniel Jones, because the Giants, I think, have to sign DJ before they can really figure out what they want to do with everybody else, because of how much a quarterback makes. It changes the dynamic of everything. Like, you have to build around that contract and how you structure that contract. So, yes, I think until Daniel Jones is either tagged or signed, they're not going to finalize the Saquon Barkley deal, because they have to know what they're working with and how they could structure that deal to maneuver cap to best fit the parts around Daniel Jones. So, yeah, I don't think – I mean, you may see it after the tag day. If they have to tag Jones, they may sign Barkley if they're going to sign him. But I don't think you're going to see it until such time they find out what's going to happen with Daniel Jones and how they have to structure all these other contracts. Let's see. Why can't DJ just play for free? What a bum. Yeah, exactly. I agree. I think actually, I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to be honest with you, Ryan. I think Daniel Jones should pay the Giants $45 million a year to play for them. He should feel so privileged that he should pay the Giants $45 million next year to play for the football team. J-Man, what's going on, man? He says Joe's reason for not wanting to use the tag because it hinders the cap space, holds no water at all, because had he picked up the fifth-year option, you wouldn't have had the space to begin with. Yeah, listen. I agree. Listen, I agree. But here's the thing, and I get it, Jay. I get it. Like, fans look back and they say, Well, if they just gave him the $22, $23 million a year, they wouldn't be in this predicament. They would have all that cap space. But be real with yourself, Jay. And I understand, like, Daniel Jones fans, and I don't think you are one. I think you're level-headed. But I think, like, people that are, like, over-the-top Daniel Jones fans before the year started said, why didn't they give him the $23 million extension? But what general manager in their right mind would have extended Daniel Jones on the fifth-year option before the year started? And I'm not even just talking about Daniel Jones' stats and his production. He never drafted Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones was coming off a spinal injury, and they never got to see what he was like as a player firsthand. Joe Shane has talked about it in press conferences throughout the year. Getting to have a year working with Daniel Jones, seeing his work ethic in the building, how he, responds, how he is as a leader. You don't know that when you take the job. Those are things that they value, obviously, very highly. So I don't know how you could blame Joe Shane for not extending Daniel Jones on the fifth-year option before the year started with all the factors I just talked about. I don't even think it was an option. I think he went into the year and he said, I'm going to evaluate this kid and see how it's going to work out. But the other thing is, and I said this before, J-Man, we've heard that Daniel Jones thinks, supposedly, he's worth $46 million a year. If you extended him on the fifth-year option for 22, do you really think Daniel Jones wouldn't have threatened to hold out and try to sign an extension? I don't think he's playing on that 22. If he, if he had the year he had last year and he thinks he's worth what he's worth. For the same reason, I don't think Dexter Lawrence is going to play on the 12. You're right. We gave Dexter Lawrence the fifth-year option. Dexter Lawrence ain't playing on that $12 million. There's no chance. I am telling you right now, if Dexter Lawrence plays on that $12 million fifth-year option, he should fire his agent the second week one kicks off in the NFL next year. If he plays on that $12 million contract. I don't think Daniel Jones would have played on the $22 million contract had we given him the fifth-year option. I really don't with the year that he had. I think he would have tried to make more money. Let's see what we got. And Chris says, my man, who do you want the Giants to draft at number 25? I want the line. I like Drew Sanders a lot. I like Drew Sanders a lot. I don't like him at 25, though. I just think that there's too many talented players at, I guess, like, areas of more importance. And linebacker is very important for this team. I'm not saying it's not. But I think I would rather sign a linebacker and get a linebacker in that third round area. I do like Drew Sanders. I think he would fit our scheme very well. Whether it be coming off the edge, going up the middle. He's a versatile linebacker, so I do feel like he'd fit Wink's scheme well. But I don't like him at 25th. I think I'm gonna be leaning corner or wide receiver with our pick. Second round, yeah, if he's there, perhaps. I do like him. Let's see what we got. And I would die for a good linebacking core. It's been forever, right? Bukala says, if DJ comes back, I think Saquon has to value that DJ's personality is dull. Saquon will be the face of the franchise and get most of the endorsements. That's a good point, Bukala. Listen, if you're successful here, I mean, look at all the players that have been successful here. They're now media personalities. Tiki Barber, Michael Strahan. And Barkley's obviously got the face for it. He's got the likability factor. Victor Cruz, he now works for the Giants. Sean O'Hara. Hey, maybe that is a factor. Who knows? From a marketability standpoint, he's definitely the face of the franchise. He's definitely the most marketable player. Maybe that's something that he will value and turn down the extra $2 million a year that he may be able to get if he were to hit the open market. The more I think about it, the more I think if the reports are true and if what has been said, the New York Giants are willing to give Saquon Barkley, which reportedly has been $12 to $12.5 million a year. So $48 million on a 4-year deal or $50 million on a 4-year deal. If those reports are true, and I don't know the guaranteed money, I think he's going to be back because the more I think about it, the more I say to myself, even though I've said he might be able to get $15 million a year, and he still might be able to. Like, if he's going to, I think it would be from the Bears because they got all that cap space and they got a young quarterback and you're trying to get the most out of him. But when you really think about it, you look at the crop of free agents this year at the running back position. You look, everybody talks about how there's so many great running backs in this year's draft class. I don't know if Barkley would be able to get $15, $16 million a year on the open market. He might be able to get 14. Maybe a team's willing to give him 15, but maybe the guaranteed money's not quite there. So if we're willing to give him 12.5 and it's a fair deal where he gets a good amount of guaranteed money, I think there's a good chance he's coming back. Maybe I'm being optimistic, but maybe I'm talking myself into it. But I think if they're willing to give him that 4 years, 50, 30 guaranteed, maybe they extend it to 4 years, 52, $13 million a year on average. I think we might be able to get him back in the building. Let's see what we got. And J-Man says Barkley should sit if they tag him. Tell him let's see Jones play read option without me on the field. Yeah. Ray, what's going on, man? Listen, I want Saquon to play. I love Saquon, and I do not want this to drag out. I think it would be bad for him, his image, and I think it would be bad for the Giants' image if this drags out and this becomes dirty, and I don't want it to become dirty. And I hope they get this deal done. I really do, because I love Saquon. I want him to retire as a Giant. I want him to go into the Ring of Honor, but I completely understand why Joe Schoen has, buyer's remorse about potentially giving him a $60 million contract for 4 years, with his injury history, with the position that he plays, how he breaks down. I hope he's back, and I hope they find a way to get this to work. I really do. But he's definitely important. He's a lot more important than I think a lot of people give him credit for. J-Man says, why can't Mara just wait for Arch Manning? Yeah, that's the other thing I hear. Oh, Chris, what do you want to just wait for Arch Manning? No. We'll see. We'll see where we're picking when Arch Manning comes out in the draft, but no. We'll see. Maybe next year we'll be taking a quarterback. The year after that, I don't know. Or maybe Dan Jones will be the 15-year answer. But I know like a lot of Giants fans are like, oh, let's just wait till 2025, 2026. He's not even Eli's kid. Yeah, exactly. He hasn't even played in college yet. He's playing at Texas, right? Did you guys in the chat probably know? I'm sure a lot of big college fans. Ewers, I think he's in this year's draft, right? Or is he playing another year at Texas next year? The guy with the long mullet, or is Manning going to be a true freshman that starts? Because I know they got Ewers, who's like a pretty highly regarded college prospect. Is he still going to play next year for Texas, or is Manning going to start year one? He's got another year? Okay. So, all right. So Manning probably won't start next year. He'll start the year after that. Max says the only team other than the Giants that would give a long-term contract would be the Bears. No, I don't think you're talking about Barkley. I thought you were talking about Jones. I'm like, no, I don't think the Bears would. Yeah, I think the Bears make a lot of sense to pay Barkley because of the reason I said, the cap space and the fact that they're trying to maximize the rookie window with Justin Fields. So they make the most sense. Maybe Atlanta, they got cap space, but I think it'd be a bad decision. Maybe you want to try to help out your rookie. Maybe if you plan on drafting a rookie quarterback, you want to try to get as much help as you can. I guess those would be the two teams that may make the most sense. The Bills, but I don't know if they're going to have the cap to be able to do something like that. There may be a couple teams, but when push comes to shove, there's a lot of good free agent running backs, and there's a lot of good running backs in this draft. Barkley's market may not eclipse $13.5, $14 million. Let's see what we got. If he signs 3 years guaranteed, then if in those 3 years he goes through Super Bowl, no one cares what. Of course not. Nobody would. Well, some people still would. I wouldn't care. Brian says Daniel Jones is 6'5", 230, runs a 4.6. Anthony Richards is 6'4", 240, runs a 4. Actually ran a 4.4 today. 4.43, I think he ran. But let me read the rest of what you had to say. I guess I'm just different because I want the one that took me one win from the NFC Championship. Listen, I think it's sexier for people to have the unknown and the guy with potential rather than the guy that they feel like they already know. And that's why every year, teams that every year, unless you have a Joe Burrow, a Pat Mahomes, a Josh Allen, and maybe like 3 other quarterbacks, there's going to be portions of that fan base that are going to want to take a quarterback. It's just the way it works. How do you know he's better? How could you say that? How could you say that? You could say that you think AR has a higher ceiling, which I won't argue on. He probably does. How could you say he's better? And J-Man says, if Jones is worth 45, what is Geno worth? Quarterback money is getting stupid. I don't think Jones is worth 45. I think Jones I could at least understand why he came to the Giants with 45 as his high end based off of what I just said, but I don't think he's worth 45. I think he's worth 35 to 38. And I think Geno's about the same. I know Geno had the better year last year, but Geno's also much older. He's like 33, right? 32, 33. Jones is 25. Geno also played for a team that I know he didn't play, but he was with Seattle there for about 2 or 3 years before that. So he's familiar with the players and the offense that they were going to run. And he's got much better playmakers on that team. Geno had a great year. I'm not taking anything away from him, but I think their markets are about the same. I would say they're both right in that $35 to $38 million area. If I had to guess, I'm just guessing. Chad Powers coming to the Giants. I hear he's got Chad Powers at a Penn State. He's great. Need the franchise tag Daniel Jones. Yes. Tuesday's the deadline. And yeah, Tuesday's the deadline. So here's what I'll say. For everybody in the chat that's like dreaming of Anthony Richardson or dreaming of whoever, your dream will end or will open up after Tuesday. Because after the tag deadline, if he's not tagged, well, that tells you, well, yeah, there's a good chance we're going to lose Daniel Jones. But I don't see that happening. I think they're going to slap the tag on him if they don't have a deal done before the end of Tuesday. I've actually talked about it in the past, and I've seen people bring this up. I think it's a good idea. The players will never agree to it, ever. But I think there should be a cap per position. I think every position, how they have like a franchise tag per position, like running backs are $10 million, quarterbacks are $32 million. I think there should be a quarterback cap, and I think there should be a running back cap. I think there should be a wide receiver. I think there should be a cap per position. It'll never happen, ever, but that's just my personal opinion. Because the market for quarterbacks is just out of control. And Duncan, what's going on, man? The tag only hurts this year's cap and ability to build around Jones. If he still succeeds, he asked for even more next year. Pay Jones at the market 38 to 42 now, or be held hostage like Dak Prescott next year. Well, that's the risk you run if you tag him, right? That not only, like you said, not only does it hurt this year's cap, if Daniel Jones proves you wrong again, which he did this year, people may not want to admit that, but he did. He's clearly proven to be worth more than the $22 million they could have extended him on. If he proves the Giants wrong again, then you're stuck with him for 38 fully guaranteed, or an extension where you may have to pay him 50. Like if he throws 28, 30 touchdowns next year and the Giants win 11 games, he's going to want 50 a year. So that's the risk you run. Fabian says, Tana, who do you think was the biggest quarterback bust ever? That's a good question. I'm going to let the chat give their answers. The biggest quarterback bust in NFL history. I mean, you go with several guys. You could go with Ryan Leaf. You could go with Jamarcus Russell. You could go with Tim Couch. You could go with David Carr. You could go with, I'm trying to think of other very early picks. I'm going to let the chat answer this question. Let me see what they say. Jamarcus Russell, somebody said. Jamarcus Russell, Johnny Manziel. Yeah, but Johnny Manziel wasn't picked as high as those guys were. Jamarcus Russell. Yeah. Zach Wilson. He's getting there. Good call, Sherrod. Achilles Smith. Yeah. Achilles Smith was he was drafted by the Cincinnati Bengals. Blaine Gabbert. Yeah, he's another one. Achilles Smith was in the same, well, if I'm not mistaken, he was in the same draft as, I think that was a draft where there were like 4 quarterbacks taken in the first 5 picks. And I think that was the same draft as Tim Couch and Donovan McNabb. And I want to say Dante Culpepper. I think. But yeah, he never amounted to anything. Ryan Leaf, yeah, that's a good one. And Justin, thank you very much. He says, Eagles and Cowboys want Robinson. Even if we sign Saquon Barkley, we should take. He is BPA, and we would have the best running game in the history of the league. Also never have to play against him. I get EJ Manuel, yeah. I wouldn't put him on the level of those guys because he was 15th overall. But, yeah, he never amounted to anything. As far as Robinson goes, I get it. he's definitely a playmaker, and I know the New York Giants interviewed him. I don't want to take a running back in the first round. If we sign Saquon Barkley, you can't take a running back in the first round. Even if we don't, I don't want to take a running back in the first round. I'd rather use that pick to try to build up the line, get a cornerback, get a wide receiver. Yeah, I don't want to take a running back in the first round. And I get the guy is really talented, and he'd be an exciting pick for a lot of the fans. For me, wide receiver, corner, interior offensive line. That's what I want to do in the first round. I don't want to take a running back. And I don't think he's getting to us, by the way. I don't think he's getting to us anyway. I think he's going to go before we pick. Tim Tebow was definitely bad, but he's not on the level of a lot of these guys we mentioned. Josh Rosen, he's up there. Even though I think he went 10th overall, but yeah, he's certainly up there. Because a lot of people thought he'd go second or third. Darnold, there's another one. Baker Mayfield has turned out to be a pretty big bust, not quite the level of some of the other guys we mentioned. There's a lot. But yeah, if I had to get, I would say it's either Leaf or Russell. If I had to, Rick, I don't know if I said Rick Meyer. He's another one that was really highly thought of. I think he came out the same year as Drew Bledsoe in 93. I said David Carr. I think David Carr was more of he was more of the surrounding cast more than Carr himself. I don't know how good Carr would have been, but Carr's first year, I think he was sacked 80 times with Houston. It was a disaster how they built that team. I'm going to give you another quarterback that probably a lot of people forgot about. I don't think Jay Cutler is one of the biggest busts. I think he's one of the biggest disappointments. I think Jay Cutler could have been an incredible quarterback. He turned out to be a pretty good one, but he didn't quite reach what he could have been. But definitely not one of the biggest busts. I'm going to give you a quarterback that a lot of people probably forgot about. I think he was 3rd overall. Joey Harrington. Remember him? I think he went to Oregon. He was a pretty big bust. He's up there. And then you also got, we said Zach Wilson, Mark Sanchez. He did go to 2 AFC title games, though, so I'll give him credit for that. Heath Schuler, there's another one. Yeah, he was a bust. Washington. And Will, thank you very much, man. He says, it's crazy how many holes we have on this roster regarding the interior offensively, the lack of linebackers, corner, defensive tackle, depth, wideout. We do have a lot of holes, but I think the good thing is that we've got building blocks at core pieces. That's what I'll say. And I think if Shane could draft properly for the next 2 years, we could fill in this roster real quick. Because we've got the franchise left tackle. You have to hope that we have the franchise right tackle. I know Evan Neal struggled last year, but you have to hope that. We took him 7th overall. We've got what we think is going to be a franchise edge rusher in Kayvon Thibodeau. So I think we've got core building blocks at some of the most important positions on a football team. And obviously Daniel Jones, you figure, is going to be here for the next 2 or 3 years. So if they could build this team up properly over the next 2 drafts, I think we could get this team right real quick. But obviously Shane's got to hit on his picks. We got to get another cornerback. We got to get some linebackers. We got to hit on the interior offensive line. I think we need a legitimate center, and we need a legitimate weapon at the wide receiver position. But I think over the next 2 years, we could really build this thing up right. Rex Grossman, Rex Grossman was not good. But, he did go to a Super Bowl, so it's hard for me to say he's the biggest bust. Chris, thank you very much, man. Todd Murray, yes, he's certainly up there, too. There's a good call. Yes, he's certainly up there, too, for sure. J-Man says, the moment you pay Jones that kind of money, the kid gloves come off. Expectations for next season rise. Joe better not be talking about rebuilding. You don't pay a quarterback $40 million to be a non-contender. Yeah, and listen, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair. Not everything is in Daniel Jones' control. If the defense is atrocious and then we have a ton of injury, but Daniel Jones needs to elevate his rate of play. No doubt about it. He's got to improve. That goes without saying. You start paying him and you expect this team to be competitive. And they got to start building properly. They got to start hitting in the draft. I'm not going to expect this team to become a Super Bowl contender overnight. I'm just not. I'm going to be realistic if we sign Daniel Jones. But obviously, my expectations for Jones next year are significantly higher than they were going into this year. As a player, as an individual, my expectations are going to be higher. Year 2 in the same offense, that's a factor. He should be much better. Year 2 with Dable and Kafka. We didn't lose Kafka. Getting more help at the wide receiver position. I could only assume that's going to happen, whether that be in the draft, whether that be via trade. So, yeah, my expectation for Jones next year, I think Jones next year to have a successful year for me, just from an individual standpoint, I think you have to leave the year saying to yourself, most people around the league, like NFL fans, view him as a top 10 quarterback. That I think would be a successful year for Daniel Jones, year one with this contract. Or at least like it's a 10, 11, 12, like in that range. Like it's almost, I think he's already close to that already, but obviously a lot of fans don't. Like I think like it has to be almost unanimous that like people around the league feel, yeah, this guy's legitimately like a top 10 quarterback. That would be my thought process going into the year with Daniel Jones if he were to sign this contract. Drew Lock was a second round pick. I can't call him the biggest bust. And Justice says, would you move 6 spots for Quentin Johnson? I like Quentin Johnson a lot. I don't know how well they're going to view him as in terms of fitting the offense, right? He's not, I don't know how good of a scheme fit he is. We'll see. But I like him a lot. I think he could be a really good wide receiver. If they feel he fits the offense and they feel he could be a legitimate number one for this team, 6 spots, yeah. That's like a couple of third-round picks probably. Yeah, I'd make that move if they felt that way. Yeah. Paxton Lynch, what a bust he was, yeah. Paxton Lynch for sure. Let's see. What would your overall grade be for the 2022 draft? It's too early. Yeah, YTD. YTD. Yet to be determined. I think it's silly to judge drafts. I think you have to give drafts 3 years. Because, like, look at it like this, Sean. If you would have asked me, give me a grade for the 2019 draft before the year started this year, okay, I would have looked back and I would have said, Daniel Jones, not all his fault, but probably like a C-, D+ pick. Dexter Lawrence, like a B or B- before the year started. Obviously an F- for DeAndre Baker. Was Julian Love in that draft? I can't recall. I think he was. If he was, I would have said like a C+ for that pick. But after this year, I would have said, well, Julian Love's like an A based off of where we drafted him. Dexter Lawrence is an A+. Daniel Jones is at least a B. So I think you have to give these drafts 3 or 4 years to develop before you could like really evaluate them. And you have to see how these players grow and progress. Kyle Orton. Was Kyle Orton an early pick? I remember with the Bears, but was he I don't think, was he I can't even remember. Was he an early pick? Willie Beeman. Kyle was not a first-round pick. Okay, yeah. Trubisky, there's a good one. Yeah, Trubisky, second overall pick. What makes the Trubisky pick even worse is the fact that they had the option of, Pat Mahomes and Watson in that draft. So that makes that pick even worse. But, yeah, that's a good one. One thing about Gettleman, he watched tape till his eyes bled. Gettleman was a pretty good evaluator of, like, talent in terms of being a scout. He wasn't a good GM. Chris says, which other teams' free agents do you realistically think the Giants could sign? I think we're going to take Long. I think that's been a popular name. He's a scheme fit. I think his market's going to be moderately priced. I don't think he's going to be like the highest linebacker on the market. So he makes sense to me. It's an obvious need. Wide receiver, if I'm looking at wide receivers, I mean, it depends on his market. But if McCole Hardman is a fair-priced wide receiver, he makes sense, right? Coming from Kansas City, he seems to be the type of wide receiver that would fit our offense. But I don't know what his market's going to be. Like if he's asking for $13 million a year, we're not signing him. So, but him potentially, I guess he could be a guy that we could be looking at. Yeah, it's. I haven't really like dove heavily into the list of free agents that we could bring in because I don't think we're going to be super active in free agency. I'm more concerned with the guys that we're going to retain from last year's roster. And then I'll see who we pick up because I think we're going to bring in a lot of like pieces to fill out the roster, but I don't think we're going to go out there and get Dory Jacksons and Kenny Galladay's like we did 2 years ago. I think it's going to be moves that kind of just fill the roster with maybe a sprinkled in starter like at the linebacker spot, maybe at number 3 wide receiver. But I don't think we're going to go out there and spend like crazy. J-Man says rather go with OBJ and keep drafting hog mollies. I'm okay with signing OBJ if it's a really cheap contract. I don't think we're going to do it, though. Afghanistan says, what would you rank George Asafo-Ajay pick-wise? George Asafo-Ajay. Well, based off the fact, Afghanistan, that he never played, granted he was a 7th-round pick, but based off the fact he never saw the field as a New York Giant, I mean, I'd probably give it an F because, he never played. Let's see what we got. Maybe he was a 6th-round pick. I can't remember. He was a 6th or 7th-round pick. I know he was the last pick that we had in that draft, but it may have been a 6th-round pick. OBJ knows his worth is cheap. Patrick Ramsey. Giants looking at Hendon Hooker. We'll see. I can't wait till we find out about the Daniel Jones thing because then all these quarterback rumors go to rest. We find it like if we don't keep Jones, then they're very real. And if we do, then it's bullshit. So we'll find out soon. Can't wait for the breaking news. What's going on, Fabian? You want my personal opinion on the Hendon Hooker news that came out and the Bijan Robinson news that came out and the what's the other one? What's the other? I think they said that we interviewed Anthony Richardson. You want to know my opinion? Joe Shane's a smart guy. Joe Shane knows we're having contract negotiations with Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley. You don't think he wants that news to get out there? To be like, we're guys we're already working on Plan B. We just interviewed Hendon Hooker, Daniel. You better come down a little bit. He wants to at least put a little fear in his head. That's my honest opinion on that. Why that got leaked that we interviewed Hendon Hooker and why we interviewed Anthony Richardson and why we interviewed Bijan Robinson, because I think they're trying to gain some power in their negotiations. Leverage. What's going on, Christopher Ewing, man? Thanks for popping in. Jim Druckenmiller. He was with the 49ers. I can't remember if he was a 1st-round pick. But, yeah, he was with the 49ers. Nikki says, Chris, do you remember where you were when OBJ had the slant versus Baltimore? What was your reaction? I was at a bar. I was at a bar for that game. I was with a bunch of friends at a bar. And, yeah, the bar was going crazy. BM says Jones is an injury away from never getting a second contract. Well, that's why when I think push comes to shove, even though he may be initially franchise tagged, I don't think he's going to start the year on the franchise tag. Exactly, DJ. That's why I don't think they're going to draft Hooker. But I think they want to put the fear in Jones' head that they're at least considering it. David says, when folks talk about ridiculous salaries of sports players and then ask if you have seen Creed 3, how much do actors make? Which is a tougher job. Actors make way too much money too. I mean, entertainers in our country make a lot more than they probably should. Actors, I don't even know, but I mean, the top actors probably make $30 million a movie. What free agent? And Justin, man, thank you, buddy. He says, Dable, I think he meant to say Dable, wants to run the wishbone with Bijan and Saquon. You're dreaming, man. I mean, who knows? Maybe you're right. Maybe we'll have Bijan Robinson and we'll have Saquon Barkley in the same backfield. I don't think so, but maybe you'll be right. I don't think they're gonna spend that kind of draft capital on a running back, especially if they pay Saquon Barkley. Should we draft the safety high or get one in free agency if we lose Love? No. I mean, I'm not saying we shouldn't draft the safety at all, but I wouldn't prioritize drafting a safety in the first couple of rounds. I mean, we got, what's his name? Belton. We drafted Belton last year, right? In the 4th round. So you give him a chance to try to progress as a player, and obviously you still got McKinney on the team. So, no, I just think there's much bigger areas of need on this team that need to be filled. Now, if you're in love with a safety in the 3rd round, sure, have at it. But, no, I don't think that should be something that you're considering in the first 2 rounds if you lose Julian Love. Yeah, and we got Pinnock as well. Good call. Reese could draft the hell out of wide receivers. Well, let's see. Who did Jerry Reese draft? I mean, yeah, he drafted Hakeem Nicks. He drafted Odell Beckham. He didn't draft him, but he signed Victor Cruz. Drafted Manningham, who was solid. Solid. I wouldn't say it was a great pick, but solid. Steve Smith is another good one. Yeah, I mean, obviously Eli Manning helped that, but yes, he definitely hit on a lot of wide receivers. What's up, Muhammad Man? Thanks for popping in, buddy. Ruben Randall wasn't very good. I couldn't stand Ruben Randall. Yeah, Steve Smith was the third round. He was a great pick. Jason says he's not worth 45, 40, 35, or 30. Bye, Danny. What is he worth then, Jason? What's your price? What's your price? What is it, $12 million? Who drafted Toomer? I believe that was of course you drafted Toomer. Toomer was a second round pick out of Michigan. I think he went to Michigan. If we lose Jones, we go full tank. We're not going to lose Jones, so we're not going to go full tank. You don't got to worry about it. Ernie, of course, he drafted a lot more than just that. Ernie, of course, he drafted half of our Super Bowl team. He drafted Osi Umenyiora. He drafted, obviously, Eli Manning. He drafted a lot of big pieces of that Super Bowl team. The majority of the offensive line. Well-dressed Amani Toomer. What's up, Tana? Just checking in. Who has impressed you so far in the combine? I mean, I guess like the guys that stood out of the, I don't really read too much into the combine at all. But I mean, I guess Quentin Johnson had a really impressive day, right? I mean, everybody's going to say Anthony Richardson because they look at the quarterbacks, and I know that he broke all those records, like the vertical jump and the broad jump or whatever. Stroud looked good. We're not taking these guys, but Stroud looked good. I think a lot of I would say there was at least 3 or 4. The corners jumped out to me in terms of their speed. I would say overall, I think the wide receiver group was underwhelming overall in terms of like the workouts. I would say it as a group, and I kind of expected it because I don't really view this as like a top tier wide receiver draft in terms of the high end. I would say they were somewhat underwhelming. And I would say the corners looked really good overall as a unit. Of course, he signed Plaxico and Antonio Pierce. Yes, he did. Both of them. Here's the question. Why wouldn't Joe Shane take one of these guys? Do I need to answer do I need to keep answering this question to DJ? Maybe you don't get it. Maybe you don't get it in your head. I've said it like 4 times. You're not just taking the guy. You're trading up to get him. It's not as simple. Why don't you just take this guy? Chris, why don't you own a Lamborghini? Oh, because I'd have to pay $200,000 to own one. Why doesn't he just take C.J. Stroud? Well, because he'd have to give up 4 first-round picks to get him. It's not that simple. What is your opinion? I mean, I'd love him. I would love if the Giants took Schmitz in the first round. I'd love it. And Will says, how long before you wait to label someone a bust? Players walk into the best situation or the worst, Burrow-good situation. If Pat Mahomes was in Chicago right now, he's still very good, I think. But, yeah, he obviously doesn't look as good as he does. They don't have Andy Reid. They don't have, Tyreek Hill for the majority of his career. They don't have Travis Kelce. So he doesn't look as good, but he still looks great. I mean, Pat Mahomes is a freak, okay? Pat Mahomes is a freak. He's on another level. Like, there's not another quarterback in the league. I thought going into the year that Josh Allen may be starting to approach Pat Mahomes. They're not even close. Pat Mahomes on another level. I think he'd look great in any circumstance. Obviously, he's going to look better in the circumstance that he's in than in a lot of other spots because Andy Reid. But in terms of when do I start labeling a player a bust, I think you got to give the guy at least, I would say at some point in year 3, I don't know if you got to see the full year 3 season, but I think at some point in year 3, maybe midway through the 3rd season, you could start to say, good chance this guy's a bust. I think you got to give these guys at least 2 years to grow as pros. And based off of circumstance, like you said, certain players are going to grow more than others, right? So, or quicker than others or slower than others based off the situations that they're put in. But I think you got to give these guys at least, midway through their 3rd season personally before you start to say this guy's a bust. And it all depends on the position too. Like a running back, you expect to almost make an immediate contribution. Whereas a corner or a quarterback or a tackle are usually going to take a little bit longer. So I think it also depends on the position as well. Certain positions you expect to make a contribution much quicker than others. But good question. Bill, what's going on, man? Good to see you, buddy. Damn, sorry I missed most of this. DJ will be a giant. Negotiations are that franchise changing should take time. Not pissed at DJ for trying to get his best deal. Appreciate you for being here, Bill, man. Hope you're doing well. And I'm definitely I'm gonna be live a lot. I know you like popping in the live streams. I'm gonna be live a lot. During free agency and once we find out about Daniel Jones, I'll do it. I think when Daniel Jones signs, whenever I can, I don't know what time it's gonna happen, what day it's gonna happen. If they sign Daniel Jones, I'll probably go live for that when I can that day. And then I'll do like a in-depth video the next day or the day after, like once the contract details come out, because I think that's like what we're all like curious about, like how are they going to structure this deal and how they're going to be able to work around it. But usually when you sign a player, you just get like the broad figures, the years, the dollars, and the guarantee. You don't see how they structured it. Did they put in void years? Did they do this? So I'll probably wait until like the details come out to do like an in-depth video about the contract and my overall opinion on what Joe Schoen signed him to if we do that. But yeah, I'll probably wait until such time the Daniel Jones news comes out and then I'll go live. So I would say March 7th will be my next live because I think we're at least going to tag him, which I hope they don't, because if they tag him, I know this is going to drag out and then we're going to have to wait until such time that they probably inevitably sign him to the contract, and it's just going to be an ever-going topic. So I hope they get this done, before the tag deadline, but we'll see. But I think that's like the big domino that's got to fall, and then we'll find out what we're going to do this offseason. But Bill, man, good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. And what's going on, Films? He says, chances are half of these quarterbacks coming out will not pan out. That's every year. Makes no sense to trade all these picks to take a chance on a quarterback. Yeah, and listen, Progeny, I would say there's probably like a 30 to 40% hit rate on a mid to early first-round quarterback. Probably like a 35 to 40% hit rate. But, like, people point to these teams that have traded up and have been successful with quarterbacks. Let's look at it. Let's, put it in context. The Chiefs traded up for Pat Mahomes. Can we agree that the Chiefs had a pretty good situation for him to come into? I think we could agree with that. And I think Pat Mahomes would have been successful anywhere. I'm not saying he wouldn't have been. The Eagles, when they traded up for Carson Wentz, I know he turned out not to be very successful, but when he had early success, they had a pretty good team already. Josh Allen may be an exception because they didn't have a great team, but he did take 2 years to develop. I'm trying to think of another quarterback that they traded up to the early first round. Lamar Jackson doesn't count for me. They traded up like 3 picks from the back end, early second round to back end first round. I'm talking about like a big trade to move up early first round. A lot of the times when these work out, it's because the team is equipped to get the most out of these quarterbacks. It's why they take the swing. So far to this point, regardless of how good you think he is, Justin Fields has not worked out. Chicago Bears have the number 1 pick. They traded up to get him, so that has not worked out. I don't remember what the Rams gave up to get Jared Goff, but yeah, they did trade up to get him. He kind of worked out, but I think that had as much to do with McVay as anything else. But yeah, he kind of worked out. Trey Lance up to this point has not worked out, but they have a very good supporting cast, and I think he will eventually work out because I just have so much faith in that team and that coaching staff. How do you feel about JSN? He had a good combine today, by all accounts. I didn't get a chance to watch it, but I heard by several people he looked good at the combine. I know he's coming off an injury. Yeah, I mean, from what I've seen, he's talented. Question with him is injuries, but he's talented. Campbell looked good today. I saw him today. He looked good. I think he helped his stock. I think he's going to be a probably maybe even an early, mid second round pick. But I wouldn't be upset if we end up with him. Kyle Shanahan is a moron? Why do you say that? Why do you think Kyle Shanahan's a moron? How is Kyle Shanahan a moron? Kyle Kyle Shanahan had Brock Purdy looking like a Pro Bowl quarterback. Kyle Shanahan had Jimmy Garoppolo go to a Super Bowl. Well, yeah, his play calling in the Super Bowl left a lot to be desired in the 28-3 game specifically. But I think he's a smart offensive mind. I think he's a good play caller. But yeah, the 28-3 game is horrible. Was awful. And I put that more on him than Matt Ryan. Like the play calling made no sense. So I agree with you on that point. But overall, I think Shanahan's a pretty smart guy. I think he's a good offensive mind. Very great offensive mind. Let's see. How many draft picks are we projected to have? We're 11. Right now we have 9, but we're projected to have 2 comp picks. So, and I think it's the 5th and 7th or the 6th and 7th. But yeah, we have 2 extra. We're going to be getting 2 extra picks. And then you figure next year, you figure next year, we're probably gonna have. Well, as of now, I don't think we have any extra picks next year. So if we don't add any extra picks, we're probably going to get at least 1 or 2 comp picks this year because we're going to lose some free agents, and I don't think we're going to go out and spend a whole lot of money. So we'll probably have like 8 or 9 picks next year if we don't add any picks via trade. Chris, why didn't the Falcons run the ball after? I made no sense. The Falcons, stupid. They just gave Brady that. I mean, Brady played great. I don't want to act like he didn't, but they gave him that game. He should never had the opportunity to come back in that game. Dark says he's probably talking about his play calling, getting all his quarterbacks killed. I think Shanahan's a great play caller overall. Landon says, why do you think we play? Who do you think we play? I have no idea. It's completely randomized. I could tell you, like, based off our schedule, who I think our primetime games are going to be. I think probably, if I had to guess, I think the Bills game is going to be primetime. There's just way too much juice there. Like, way too much juice there. Obviously, the Bills, Josh Allen. But the storyline, Joe Shane, Brian Dable, both teams made the playoffs last year. So I think the Bills game is 100% going to be like a Sunday night football game. Like, I think that's going to be like our biggest primetime game, like in terms of like ratings. Like, they're going to look at that outside of divisional games, and they're going to say that should be a primetime game. So I think that will probably be a primetime game. And then maybe the 49ers. And then, probably like the Eagles and Cowboys will probably get a primetime game. But I think the Giants are going to have at least 4 primetime games next year. Not at least. That's, I think, what they're going to have. I don't think we're going to have more than that. I think we're going to probably have 4 primetime games. I think we'll have like a Thursday night game, a Sunday night game, and maybe 2 Monday night games. Because a big market, Giants coming off the playoffs. I think we'll get more primetime games than we've had in the past. George says, "Sup, Dana, what's the max we pay Jones?" Oh, man. Again, it's guaranteed for me. That's the factor. But if you're just asking on a per year average, 41, 42. But a lot of it may be incentive based. But 41, 42, I think, is like the absolute max that I expect to come out. I don't think that's going to be the number. You're asking me for the max. I think the number is going to be 38-ish. But I'll go 41, 42. It's like the absolute max. What's the chance of Shane trades back for more picks? Not incredibly likely, but it could happen. Duggan had a good day today, right? I didn't get a chance to see him, but I know people are like raving about Max Duggan today. And people were talking about Stetson Bennett too. They said he was throwing a really good deep ball. I don't really like Stetson Bennett, but I saw people talking about that. I'm not saying I'm hoping for that still. But somebody said, what do you think the max will be? I don't think that's what he's going to get. I think he's going to be 37, 38. 25 million or less. If Daniel Jones signs for $25 million, he should fire his agent. He's not getting $25 million. It's not happening. He might be. I think a lot of it depends on where he gets drafted, but he might be. I mean, if he gets put in a good situation, who knows, right? Look at Brock Purdy this year. He got put in a great situation. Sunday night SNL monologue weekend update, and the music guests sometimes are okay, but I haven't watched Saturday Night Live in forever. Maybe I'll watch it tonight. I haven't watched Saturday Night Live in forever. I like Doug and Billy. I mean, I don't know if I don't think he's got like elite traits, but the couple of TCU games I watched, I like him. I don't know how good he's going to be in the pros, but he's tough. He's a tough son of a bitch. I'm a fan of Duggan. I like Duggan. Not what's going on, man. If DJ doesn't budge, tag him and draft a quarterback late. Yeah, well, I'm okay with that. What do you mean by late? You mean like day 3, or you mean like first round? If you mean like day 3, yeah, I'm completely fine with that. Blue Collar, he says, what team that needs a quarterback do you think DJ would be in a better situation for winning other than the Giants? Maybe the Jets, and who else? I don't think there's many better situations for Daniel Jones than ours. I really don't. Because if he leaves the Giants, what happens? The same thing that's happened to him his entire career. He's got to learn a new offense. Here he gets to stay and he gets to learn with a really good play caller, an offense he's familiar with, players he's familiar with playing. But if you're asking me, what do I think the best situations are for Daniel Jones from a realistic standpoint for teams that need quarterbacks? I think I would be very upset if this happened. I think Washington would be a great fit for Daniel Jones. Great fit. They just bring in Eric Bieniemy. They've got tons of weapons. Tons. Right? They got really good wide receivers over there. I could see him being successful there. I think Washington would be a good fit for him. If in terms of a team that's out there that's looking for a quarterback, and obviously they would try to stick it to the Giants, right, if they were to do something like that. But I could see him being a good fit there and being somewhat pretty successful there. And the Jets, like you mentioned, yeah, I think that could be a good fit for him. Outside of that, Tampa, I think he would not do well because I think they're kind of in whatever rebuild / I don't know what the hell we're doing mode. The Saints don't have any cap space. The Falcons are, not a good fit. Carolina's not a great fit, in my opinion. I think Washington or the Jets are probably where I think where he could do pretty well. Let's see what we got. HP says, I love Shane, but he is too much for our team. We have too many holes for our team that needs to be fixed. The free agent list for running backs are huge, and so is the draft. You talking about Barkley? Listen, my heart tells me the Raiders are a good one too, JC Silva. I wasn't thinking about them. They're a good one too. They got some weapons over there. My heart tells me I want Saquon Barkley back because I love him. And I'm not going to be upset if we bring him back. But my brain tells me I completely understand if they don't. And it's obvious. I don't even need to explain the reason if they don't. Like why I could understand why you wouldn't want to bring him back. It has nothing to do with him as a player. It has everything to do with his position. And everything to do with where we currently are as an organization. But I hope we could get a deal done that makes sense because I think he is a guy that's very important to that locker room. I think he's a leader, and I think he's a guy that helps this offense a ton. He's Daniel Jones' only real weapon. And, we talk about how if we get like a really good wide receiver, how it's going to enhance Daniel Jones. It's going to enhance Saquon Barkley too. Saquon Barkley's never had a threat on the outside. That's a running back's best friend outside of a better offensive line. So I would love to see Barkley back, but the deal's got to make sense. The deal's got to make sense. Let's see what we got. I won't be upset if he's not. I understand it. I mean, I'll be upset to see him go. I love him, but I will understand it. Zay says, I think we got to go cornerback in the first round. I wouldn't say got to, but yeah, that's where I'm leaning, where I think we're going to go based off of need and based off of, I think how Joe Shane's going to value the position. Not says late, like fifth or later, we would have to give up 1 million picks to get one of the big names at quarterback. Yeah, listen, I'm completely fine with that. I'm completely fine with the Giants drafting a quarterback day 3. Regardless, even if we sign Daniel Jones to a 4-year, 5-year extension, I'm fine with that. I mean, at that point, whatever. You take a guy in the 5th round, you're essentially drafting him to be a backup. And if he turns into anything more, great. And, we should learn from the Eagles, like how valuable quarterbacks are, right? So, like, if Daniel Jones turns out to be the guy, who knows? Maybe that guy gets to start a couple of games and looks good, and you could get something for him, right? Quarterbacks are so valuable in the NFL. So if there's a quarterback that you like as a developmental project in the 4th or 5th round that could at worst be a long-term backup, have at it. Go for it. I'm fine with that. I would almost prefer that. We're going to need a backup. Tyrod Taylor's not going to be here after next year. Let's see what we got. No, we don't have to go. I agree. We don't have to go any position in the first round. We have to take the best player in the first round. I just think it so happens to be the best player is probably going to be a corner wide receiver. But yeah, this team needs good players. We got to start filling in this team with good players. Let's see. No, I don't think it's necessary, Billy. I just think that's probably going to be what we do. But I don't think there's any position that's necessary in the first round. Yeah, Not says we have the luxury of having too many. Exactly. What is your max price for Saquon? I think it's right around with what Shane has said. I think I'm in line with that. I think it's 12 to 12 and a half. I think it's 25 to 30 guaranteed over 4 years. Like 48 to 50 mil, 12 to 12 and a half with the ability to get it after 2. That's what I think we're going to be willing to pay him. And I think I could agree that that's probably what we should be topping out at based off our situation. Next mock draft, it's probably going to be in a week. I'm going to have a podcast up. I'm going to start doing a lot of draft podcasts with another guy on Monday. That's the plan, at least. We're going to have our first one, and it's going to be, and I don't know if something's going to get interrupted, because if Daniel Jones signs, then obviously I'm going to back that up a couple of days, because, but if Daniel Jones doesn't sign on Monday, I'll probably have my first draft podcast up, where we're going to talk about the risers and fallers of the combine, because I just think that's an interesting topic to talk about which guys help their stock, which guys hurt their stock, where they're projected to go, get to know a little bit more about the prospects. So I'm going to have a podcast up on that probably on Monday. And then probably later that week, like Thursday or Friday, at least that's the plan right now, we're going to have a discussion for probably about 45, 50 minutes where we're going to go over day one prospects for the Giants. We'll probably talk about like 8 to 10 guys that we could see briefly, 5 to 6 minutes each, that we could see going to the New York Giants and blah, 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 blah. Then we're going to do day 2. Then we're going to do day 3. And then we're going to look at some individual prospects. So I'm looking forward to getting a lot of draft content up for you guys, but kind of just waiting until the Daniel Jones bomb drops and Saquon and everything else. Let's see. I would take our second pick is 57, not like last year's when we had a high second. Yeah, I don't know if he's going to get to us, Josh, but I wouldn't be opposed to him. I would not. We need all the help we can get on the interior. Good to chat with y'all, fellas in the off. Love talking off season, man. Listen, we're diehard fans. That's all we're thinking about is the New York Giants. So I think that's why a lot of people come to my channel, because we always got Giants on our minds. So I'm always thinking about the Giants, and I know a lot of you guys are too. Can't believe how fast Charlie Jones ran. He is going to move up boards. I didn't get a chance to see Charlie Jones. I'm trying to remember. There was one guy that ran like a 4.37. He was a wide receiver. Maybe it was Charlie Jones. I don't think it was Charlie Jones. It was another guy that I saw. I can't remember who it was. He was like a 5'10 wide receiver. Burrow says, bring Feliciano back. What's going on, Mel's? Bring Feliciano back. I mean, I personally don't want him back. I don't think Feliciano's very good. Whatever. If they bring him back as depth or a guy that could start for the first 4 or 5 weeks as they mold a rookie, whatever. But I hope we don't have to watch him start all year. Let's put it that way next year. I don't think he's very good. I think, as crazy as this may sound to some fans, I think there's a good chance that, like, if you ask me, Chris, what's more likely, we bring Feliciano back or we bring Nick Gates back? I hate saying this because I know you guys love Nick Gates and I love Nick Gates. I think there's a higher chance we bring Feliciano back over Nick Gates, because Feliciano has ties to Buffalo. I hope I'm wrong. I would prefer bringing Nick Gates back. And Zay, thank you, he says, in my opinion, I would wait till the second round to grab one of these wide receivers, assuming they slip from the first. It all depends, Zay. It all depends on who drops. Like, if they love, Addison drops and they have a, high first round or mid first round grade on him, they take him. It all depends. And when you're picking late, that's kind of the good thing about picking at 25. Somebody's going to drop that you don't expect. It's not like when you pick at 4. When you pick at 25, there's going to be probably 2 or 3 players that you thought were going to go top 15 that fall to you. That's just the nature of the draft. It happens. So I think the Giants are kind of just we're going to go by our board. We're going to see who falls. If there's a guy that's significantly higher on our board than where we're picking, almost regardless of position, we're probably going to draft the guy. That's what I think the plan is going to be going into the draft. And Zay says, in my opinion, I would wait till the. I already read that. Yeah. And Chris B says, if you guys give Jones 40 or more, you guys are screwed. He had one okay year, no chance I would ever give him that. But please, Giants, give him 45 a year. Chris B, who's your team? By the way, that's my initial. People used to call me Crispy when I was in elementary school, like Rice Krispie. Because I don't have a middle name. I have a middle initial. Chris B. We're not going to get into that story, but I have a middle initial, and people used to call me Crispy. But, yeah, as far as that goes, who's your team? I'd love to know. I'd love to know who your team is. Let's see what we got. And Not says, I'm starting to hope we get an offer to trade back to get the early second round and collect some more picks, get enough players, and a few will hit. In an ideal scenario, I'd love to trade back. In the right scenario, I'd love to trade back. But it's got to make sense. Get out of here. Is he a Jets fan? Is that who he is? Did I miss it? What's going on, Evan, man? Thanks for popping in the stream. If you're an Eagles fan, I pray to God you guys pay Hurts $55 million. Here's what I'd be saying, and I don't know if he's an Eagles fan. If you're an Eagles fan listening, you may laugh at the Giants if Daniel Jones signs for, say, $42 million. If Daniel Jones signs for $42 million, what do you think Jalen Hurts is going to want? You don't think Daniel Jones would drive up the quarterback market if he signs for more than people expect? What do you think Jalen Hurts is going to want? If Daniel Jones gets $45 million, Jalen Hurts is going to want 60. Jalen Hurts went to the Super Bowl last year. So be careful what you wish for. Not says there's no sure thing at 25. Weak draft also. There's never a sure thing at 25. There's never a sure thing at 5, if we're being honest. I mean, the draft is a complete crapshoot. It's a complete crapshoot. The Tim says, go Jets. We'll see. I'm looking forward to seeing who the Jets get at quarterback. Jets fans seem, to me, and I'm not trying to make fun of the Jets. I say it all the time. I love Christian Gonzalez. I saw a strong, dude, I'm a huge fan of Christian Gonzalez. I think Christian Gonzalez is the best cornerback in this year's draft class from what I've seen. And he's tall and he fits the defense. He ain't falling to us, but I would love him. Would love him. I disagree with this, Billy O'Sullivan. Jalen Hurts is worth $75 million. I completely disagree with that. Completely disagree with that. He's worth $200 million a year. 75. Why are you underselling Jalen Hurts? The cap right now is $225. If I'm Jalen Hurts and his agent, I'm asking for at least $200. All I need is $25 million. That's how good Jalen Hurts is. All I need is $25 million to fill out the rest of the Eagles roster. I think he's worth $200 million a year. I hope he gets paid so much they have to reset the NFL salary cap. I hope he gets $200 million a year. What's up? And Fabian says, Tana, if Wandell falls to injury again, is he a bust? No, I'm not going to say that, man. I'm not going to say that. No, I'm not going to say that. Got to give the guy some time. I think he's going to be fine next year, though. I like Wandell. I think he's going to be a good player for the Giants. But he got to stay healthy, like you said. Yeah, you're right. I'm selling him way short. Yeah, man. You can't be biased, dude. Billy, you can't be biased. Why we got to stop that as Giants fans. I know we all hate the Eagles. I hate the Eagles. I'll be the first to say I'm biased against them. I can't stand them. But we gotta be more honest with ourselves. Jalen Hurts is a $200 million quarterback. He just is. What's up, Evan, man? Thanks for popping in. Slink says, no. Eagles have to save $40 million to pay all those punters. Let's see. They don't need 53 guys. Hurts could throw to himself. He could run. He could block for himself. He could throw to himself. He's that good. Selling him short, just like how their performance in the yeah, exactly. Payers $220 million and let them fill out the roster with 5. Exactly, Chester. Now we're thinking. And Playboy says, why can't we have selfless players who take a little bit less to build a team for them to win? And do you think Saquon will really leave a winning team to go to Chicago or the Falcons for a couple million more? It depends on what the guarantees are. I think that's what it comes down to, Playboy. If the Giants are only giving him, say, 20 million guaranteed, and the Bears are giving him 35 million guaranteed, that's a big difference. So I think if the Giants are like in the ballpark of what he can get, maybe a little bit less, he'll probably stay. But if Chicago's offering significantly more, he's gonna take the deal with Chicago. And listen, Playboy, I get it. And as a fan, I agree with, like, in an ideal world, I agree with you. But let's be honest with ourselves. Look around the league. Tell me a team that has choir boys where, like, the majority of their team is taking significantly less money to stay and play with that team. It doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. There's a reason when teams win the Super Bowl, they lose all their players because players look to cash in. It's a business. It's unfortunate that that's the way it is, but that's the reality of sports today. Players are looking to get, and I don't even want to use the word unfortunate. It's not like I'm upset that these players are getting paid. I want them to get paid what they deserve, and what teams are willing to pay is what they deserve. But as a fan, it's unfortunate that you lose a lot of the talent on your team today because players are looking to cash in. But that's just the way it works. That's the nature of the beast. It's a business. You don't find choir boys that are willing to take less money more often than not. And I know Tom Brady's a rare exception, but it's not. Aaron Judge did. Hold on a second. Aaron Judge signed a 9-year deal for $360 million when he was 30. How much less did he take? What is that? That is, how much is that? That's $40 million a year? I guess. He got fairly compensated. And Chris says, oh, you're a Cowboys fan. I thought Dak at 40 was a lot. But sheesh, it's a bargain compared to Jones getting 45. Jones getting 42 to 45 makes me laugh. Good luck with that. Crispy, here's what I'm going to say. And I get where you're coming from. I made fun of the Dak contract, so I get where you're coming from. $40 million when Dak signed it isn't $40 million today, though, right? Let's be fair. $40 million when Dak signed it was a $182 million salary cap. $40 million today is a $225 million salary cap. So it's different, but I get what you're saying. And you're right. Listen, you should celebrate just like we did when Dak signed his contract, just like we're both going to celebrate when Hurts signs his contract. At least we could celebrate together for that. When Hurts gets his $55 to $60 million, we'll celebrate that. But that's just like a common theme from around the league. You always celebrate when your rivals sign a quarterback to a lot of money. And unfortunately, that's just the nature of the beast in the NFL. I think that contract's worse personally for what I think Jones is going to sign just based off the difference in the market. But yeah, I mean, Daniel Jones is going to be very fairly compensated. And if I was a fan of the Cowboys, I would be happy that he's going to be very fairly compensated. Just like I will be happy when Jalen Hurts, and just like I was very happy when Dak signed his. That's just the nature of the beast. Let's see. Not says an NFL team will drop a player like a bad habit if they get hurt. Why would the players take discounts, especially on the second contract, especially running back? They should. I mean, from a business standpoint, especially in football. Like, baseball is a little bit different. In football, your career could be over in a play. I mean, it's a violent sport. You got to take the money when you can get it, especially in a sport where the money's not guaranteed. Chris says we all know Hurts' a system quarterback. Pay him $60 million a year. Listen, I'm not gonna crap on Hurts. He had a great year. Do I think Jalen Hurts could be a top 5 quarterback if he loses a piece on that team? I don't know. I want to find out, though. I'd like to find out if he can be. So I hope he gets paid. I hope he gets paid very, very well. I would like to find out how he would look if that offensive line didn't look quite as good. And I would like to find out how he would look if, he loses A.J. Brown in a couple of years because he has to get paid, or he loses Devon, whatever. I'd like to find out. So I hope he gets paid very well. How many quarterbacks do you think are drafted before our first pick? 4. I think the top 4. I think obviously Richardson, Levis, Stroud, and Young. I think those 4. Who would even be another possibility. McKee out of Stanford or Hendon Hooker? I don't think so. Not off his injury. I'm trying to think who else could be. Who am I forgetting about? Maybe there's a quarterback I'm forgetting about that could potentially be a first-round pick. I think it's 4. I don't. Yeah, I mean, I guess Hooker would be the 5th, but I don't think he's going in the first round. But you never know. I mean, teams reach on quarterbacks. He says Jones last year was the only year where he didn't miss a game. The injury issue concern. That's fair, Seti. That is fair. Stu says, I hope the Giants don't sign Richie James to come back. Yeah, you and a lot of Giants fans. I'd be okay with it for the right deal, like if it's like next to nothing. But I think he's fine as a 5th or 6th wide receiver, but I ain't giving him anything like significant. Looks like Carson Wentz 2.0 situation. Oh, Bill, man. Dude, you don't got to do that, man. Thank you, man. He says, fans are nuts. If you were a player with a once-in-a-lifetime chance to make millions, you would go for it and not settle for less than the max the market would give you. Stop asking these guys to do what you... I agree, Bill. That's why I can't kill the guys. Like, that's the truth. Like, a lot of people might say that they would think about the team and trying to win. And I'm not saying that you're lying, but if you were in the situation where you're talking about millions, you're talking about the difference of making, 200 million as opposed to 160. And I understand, like, but you also got to realize that these guys live different lives than we do, right? So you're getting as much. You're going to try to get paid what you think is fair. Like if you're a player and you're a quarterback and you see another quarterback that you think you're better than, you want to be fairly compensated. Just like if you're at your job, you want to be fairly compensated, right? So I can't fault these athletes for getting as much as they possibly can. I know it's ridiculous what we pay athletes and what we pay performers, but that comes with the territory. It generates money. Chris says, in all seriousness, though, if I were a Giants fan, I'd want to franchise tag Jones, make him prove himself another year before giving him all the money. And Chris, that's fair. But what I worry about, what's up, X-Man? And I understand, and I wouldn't be against that, by the way. I wouldn't be against that at all. I'm fine either way. I'm fine with the franchise tag. I'm fine with like a 4-year contract with a 2-year out, or a 5-year contract with a 2 or 3-year out if you want to spread out the money. I'm fine either way. But what I worry about if we franchise tag him is if we fall into the same trap you guys did. And you know it as a Cowboys fan. You guys tagged him. That ate up your salary. I'll be fair. With the Dak contract, the Cowboys got some bad luck too. Let's be fair, okay? Because this is what happened. You tagged Dak, then that kind of impacted all the other contracts on your team because you tagged Dak, you kind of had to backload the Zeke contract. You had to backload all these other contracts to fit him under the salary cap because you can't move that money around. And then the next year when you tagged him and then you extended him before the year started, you extended him during the pandemic. So you extended him when the market went down, and that it was just a disaster. So the Cowboys got a little bit of bad luck with that contract, and that's why it looks as bad as it does now. But I understand that approach with the tag, but that's what I worry about. If we tag him and he proves that he's worthy of coming back, well, now you got to pay him a lot more than you would have if you just did it this year. So I understand both schools of thought. As long as the contract is reasonable that we could get out after 2 or 3 years, I'm fine with it. I don't want to fall into that tag trap like Washington did with Cousins. Like if you want to commit to the guy for 2 or 3 years, do it now. Well, the market is a little bit lower. Do it now where you can move the money around. That's my mindset on it. But I wouldn't be upset with tagging him for a year. I wouldn't be upset with it. Let's see what we got. What are your thoughts on Love? I want him back personally. I want him back too, but I want him back for something that makes sense. I don't want to overpay for him. That's my thoughts on him. I don't want to give him $10 or $11 million, and I think he's probably going to get that somewhere. But if we get him back here for $7 or $8 million, I'm good with it. What position do you think we will draft multiple players at? Line and corner and wide receiver. I could see all 3 of those positions being multiple. Obviously, not all 3 will be, but I think and linebacker too. Like, there's a lot of positions we could double up. I think we're going BPA, but if you said if you had to guess what is one position we're going to draft 2 players at in the draft, I would say offensive line. Just for depth purposes, 2 interior offensive linemen, maybe a swing tackle and an interior offensive lineman. But clearly, obviously, you could see 2 wide receivers. I could probably see 2 linebackers. Like, there's a lot of positions I could see us taking 2 players at. What's going on, Jesse, man? Thanks for popping in, man. What's going on there? Daniel Barry, man. Thanks for popping in, buddy. Can we please get linebackers is the right word terminology, Josh. Can we please get a good linebacker? Linebackers. We need multiple players at that position. Muhammad says, give me the Molly. Not says, I think DJ is better than his stats show, and with weapons lacking. However, $45 million is hard to justify at some time. It's a low. Yeah, listen, not. Here's what I'll say. Joe Schoen may legitimately feel that Daniel Jones is a $45 million quarterback. He might. But he should, even if he feels that way, he should not pay him that because of what you just said. He has reason not to pay him that, regardless of how he feels as Daniel Jones as a player. Like, if he may feel, I know what Daniel Jones is. I got to see this guy for a year. His work ethic, the stats to me are meaningless. I knew the game plan week to week. He maximized the game plan. This kid, talent is off the charts. He's got a lot more upside. He's going to grow and build with Brian Dable. So in his head, he may be like, yeah, this guy's worth paying $45 million a year. But Joe Schoen said, as a GM, your job is to present a case to lower his contract demands. And he has the ability to do that because at the end of the day, his stats don't say that he's worth $45 million. Let's be real. And if I'm Joe Schoen, that's what I'm hammering home with. This is going to be the negotiation. I'll play the negotiation out for you right now. Knock, 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 knock. Daniel Jones' agent walks into the room. My client is worth $45 million a year. Joe Schoen. Why is that? Well, Mr. Joe Schoen, my client last year went 9-6-1 with a team with middle school wide receivers, and your team's record with this quarterback over his last 19 starts is 11-7-1. In the 8 starts that he hasn't played, you're 0-8. You better pay my quarterback, or he's going to walk out the deal, and he's going to be worth nothing. We value Daniel Jones very highly. Daniel, you know that. But at the end of the day, Daniel, last year, even you admitted that you still have a lot of things to work on. You threw 15 touchdowns. You grew as a player. You showed promise. We respect you in the locker room, but we still got to be able to build a team around you. We can't commit $42 to $45 million a year and expect for you to be able to thrive and prosper as a quarterback and to get this team to where we need it to get. And they're going to go back and forth like that. And it's going to be like a 5-hour conversation. And in the end, it's going to get down to $38 million a year with incentives. The end. That's the story. That's how it's going to play out. You just saw it. You just saw the whole contract negotiations. Let's see what we got. And Chris B says, you really think Jones will accept the contract with a 2-year out? Dude is asking for $45 million a year. Double accepts anything other than at least 4 years guaranteed. I mean, Chris, the way these contracts work, is it's going to, at most, it's going to be a 3-year out. You almost never see quarterback contracts that are fully guaranteed. So it's going to, I think it'll be a 3-year out. Like if I had to guess, Chris, I think it'll be a 3-year out. I don't think it'll be a 2-year out. I'm hoping for a 2-year out just because I want to have options. It's not because I want to move on from Daniel Jones in an ideal world after 2 years, but I want to have options if I'm Joe Schoen. You don't know what's going to happen. What if he gets hurt? What if he regresses? What if he does not become what you think he's going to? So you want to have options. So I think it's always ideal if you could get out, have the option to get out after 2. You want it. But if I had to guess, I think it'll be a 3-year out. I think Jones, when push comes to shove, if they do an extension, is probably going to get like 90 guaranteed, which to me is about like a 3-year out. I think it'll be like 5 for like $185, 5 for $190, $37 to $38 million a year. And of that 185, like 100 will be guaranteed. So it'll be like a 3-year out. I don't think it'll be a 2-year out. I think it'll be a 3-year out if I had to guess. But a 3-year out is basically a 2-year out because you could always draft a quarterback after 2 years if you don't feel Jones is the guy. And Jones could start for a year and mold the rookie. But yeah, that's probably what'll happen if I had to guess if it's not a tag. I think it'll be a 3-year out. And let's see what we got. Trenton Simpson. I know he's going to be a popular name amongst Giant fans this year, the linebacker out of Clemson. I haven't forgotten the 7 rushing touchdowns. Dan, you had a good year last year, man. You had a good year. You had a very good year. I think it's fair to say, I know people are going to laugh that don't like Daniel Jones. Last year, I think Daniel Jones was a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. And if he wasn't, he was like 11th. Like, he was right in the discussion as a top 10 quarterback in the NFL last year. I think that's very fair to say. I really do. When you factor in the supporting cast and the fact that he got that team to the playoffs and he got him to the second round, Daniel Jones had a good year. Daniel Jones had a very good year. I don't think it was an incredible year. And then the other thing I think, like when people go by stats, if you want to be fair, he didn't play his last game. So let's tack on the Minnesota game. That's 17 games, right? A regular season is 17 games. You tack on the Minnesota game, 3,500 yards passing, 17 touchdown passes, and then another yard. He would add like 25 combined touchdowns in 17 games. Daniel Jones had a good year. He had a very good year. Did he have a great year? No. I think he had a near top 10 quarterback year, though. I think he had a very good year. I know. You go by box score. You go by fantasy stats. Let's see what we got. And Bill M says, DJ played behind yet another crap O-line with 0 targets downfield and still found a way to lead the team to a winning season. And our first playoff win in forever. Pay the damn kid market rate and move on. In 3 years, he will be a bargain. That's what I think is going to happen. He had a decent year. Stop it. He had a good year. He had a very good year. Swing culture. Last year, you don't think it's fair to say last year he was near a top 10 quarterback? Look around the league last year. I'm not talking about that he is overall a top 10 quarterback. Last year, you don't think he was a top 10 quarterback? Or at least like the 11th or 12th best quarterback? Be fair. Of course he was. Of course he was. You know how many... Kyle Murray played like crap. So normally people would say he's above him. He was not above him last year. He got hurt. Arizona was 3-8. Derek Carr played like crap. Normally a lot of people would say he's better than him. He was not better than him last year. Dak Prescott led the league in interceptions, and he missed like 4 games. No, he didn't have a Pat Mahomes year. If we were to trade for a linebacker, who do you think we should? I don't think we're trading for a linebacker. I think we may sign a linebacker, but I don't think we're trading for a linebacker. Oh, we got the Screw Jones crowd. It's going to be really fun talking about this team. And Bill, I agree with you, by the way. Move on, sign him the contract, and let's see what he could become over the next 2 or 3 years. It's going to be really fun talking about this team over the next 2 or 3 years because this Daniel Jones debate's not going anywhere because he's going to stay on the team, and people are going to cry about every time he drops back the pass. So why you want Pat money? Because why wouldn't he want Pat money? Every quarterback should want as much money as they could get, right? Because he hopes he could get it. That's why he's not going to get it. Giants aren't going to pay him $45 million. I don't blame him for wanting it or trying to get it, but he ain't going to get it. He's going to get tagged if he's asking for Pat money. This all reminds me in the 80s. All you heard was Sims is injury prone when quarterbacks were destroyed and not taking the Giants anywhere. Then came in. Yeah, I've heard a lot of people frequently make that comparison. I've heard a lot of people make that comparison. Unfortunately, I didn't really get a chance to appreciate Phil Simms, but I know he got off to a really rocky start. He went to a small school, Morehead State, and he had a lot of injuries, and he got benched early on. Hopefully he has the same result. Hopefully helps us win a couple of Super Bowls. For the record, I also want Pat Mahomes money. Exactly. I'm not anti-DJ guy. I've been one of his staunchest defenders. I'm just anti. I agree with you, Billy. What's your like? Let's be in the world of reality. I'm not saying you're not being in the world of reality, but let's be in the world of reality. What is fair for Daniel Jones? And I'm glad that I think swing culture is in the world of reality. That's the world of reality for me. That is what's fair for Daniel Jones on this market. $35 to $38 million. I agree. That's where I have him at. $35 to $38 million. That's what I think Daniel Jones' fair market value is. But I want Pat money. Swing culture. Let me ask you, swing culture. I don't know what you do for a living. Let's say you make $30 an hour. You don't want to go to your boss and see if you can make 40? If your boss came up to you and said, all right, you got a new contract coming up, and in the back of your head, you're like, I'm worth 30. I'm worth $30 an hour. I'm going to ask him for 42. I'm not going to ask him for what I think I'm worth. I'm going to ask him for more. I'm going to see what I can get. So that's just my outlook on the situation. And Fabian says, what if Pat is underrated? Let's What if Pat is underrated? Let's think that. Who are you talking about? Oh, Pat Mahomes? The Pat Mahomes contract is you can't really compare the Pat Mahomes you can't really compare the Pat Mahomes contract to really any other quarterback in the league. Like that is a very rare circumstance because Pat Mahomes signed a 10-year deal. He did that for the betterment of the Kansas City Chiefs. That's the truth. He took a team-friendly deal. As crazy as that may sound, he got like $450 million, but he took a team-friendly deal. He just did. So kudos to him because he probably could have made, if he would have waited to sign his extension or sign like a 3 or 4 year extension, he could have made a lot more money than he did. And I'm going to tell you what, Pat Mahomes is never going to see the conclusion of that deal. There's going to come a point where Pat Mahomes is going to say, rip up the contract, maybe 4 or 5 years into it, maybe another 3 years. He's going to start seeing what these quarterbacks make. He's going to have 3 Super Bowls under his belt. And he's going to say, okay, let's up it up a little bit. Now, I'll sign a 7 or 8 year extension, but now you give me 60. Now you give me 70. So Pat Mahomes did the Kansas City Chiefs a favor, and kudos to him. He wants to win. But he could have got a lot more than that. But to me, you can't really compare any contract to the Pat Mahomes contract. Quarterbacks don't sign 10-year deals. They sign 4 or 5 year deals. And that contract was signed like 2 or 3 years ago. The market was different. But that to me is just a different animal. $35 million a year would be extremely team-friendly for a borderline. I agree. I think that's the floor. If we're doing an extension, I think 35 is the floor. Maybe 34, but I don't think so. I think 35 is probably the floor. And Tyler says, heading into the season, I honestly would put Jones at number 10. 1 to 16, Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, Herbert, Hurts, Rodgers, Stafford, Trevor, Lamar, DJ, Tua, Geno, Carr, Dak, Murray, Kirk. I don't know about Watson. I mean, Watson has a ton of talent, but I could understand keeping him off the list because the guy hasn't played football really in 3 years or whatever it's been. So, okay, that's fair. Leave him off the list. I like DJ more than Tua. I really do. I'm not a big fan of Tua. I think Tua is a very limited quarterback, but he's got incredible wide receivers. So I think that helps him. I think DJ has a higher ceiling than Tua. I really do. I would put DJ above Geno just because of the fact that DJ is much younger and I think he's got more room to grow. I think most teams around the league, if they're being honest, would probably prefer DJ just because of his age and his potential room for growth. Last year, Geno had the better year, but if you prefer DJ, I can't. It's fair. You can make that argument. I don't think that's crazy. Carr, DJ had a better year last year. He did. He had a better year than Carr last year. Dak, most people would say Dak's better than DJ if we're trying to be as unbiased as we can. Even though I think last year you could certainly make the argument that DJ had a better year. Dak did not have a good year last year. Murray got hurt. Most people would say you're crazy in a homer, Tyler, but I don't think it's crazy to put, and I'm not looking at all the other quarterbacks. I don't know who you may have left off that list, but I don't think it's crazy to say that DJ is better than at least 3 or 4 of those quarterbacks that you said. Like, I think you can make reasonable arguments to say that you'd prefer him to Geno, to Tua, to Carr, to Cousins. I know Cousins puts up stats. He beat Cousins in the playoffs. He looked better doing it with a worse team. So I don't think you're crazy for thinking that. I'm probably having slightly lower, but I don't think you're crazy for thinking that. I really don't. And I think Daniel Jones is going to look better next year, second year in the offense. Man, thank you very much, man. Right after the Minnesota game, everyone was talking high 20s for DJ's deal. Crazy how much money is about. Yeah, well, the thing is not, I think like in the season, you don't really think, I think after the year's over, at least me, that's when I really start to like analyze the market. And then you speak in realistic terms. Like during the season, I'm worried about the Giants week to week. You don't really think about like what the market's going to be. And then after the year ended and I got a chance to look at it and I'm like, okay, well, the tag's 32. Like, why would Daniel sign for less than that? He's not going to. The market goes up. You look at like a guy like Jared Goff's making $33 million a year off a contract that was signed like 3 years ago. So I'm like, okay, yes, this is starting at 35. If it's going to be a contract extension, that's going to start at 35. He's either going to be tagged or it's going to be at a bare minimum $35 million a year. I think that's what happened. I think people after the year ended, when they said, okay, let's be realistic. Let's look at what he could potentially ask for based off the market. And they said, okay, yeah, he's starting at 35. He's starting at 35 and you hope to get him, under 38, 35 to 38 in that ballpark. That's just the going rate for a starting quarterback. I was just looking at the list. I didn't see. Did he not have Lamar on the list? I was just reading the list that he had. He didn't mention Lamar. You didn't mention Lamar. Hurts. He did not mention. Oh no, he did. He had Lamar above Daniel Jones. Yeah, he had Lamar above Daniel Jones. He's got Lamar, Trevor Lawrence, Stafford, Rodgers, Hurts, Herbert, Allen, Burrow, and Mahomes. He's got Lamar above Daniel Jones. The guys he had below him were Tua, Geno, Carr, Dak, Murray, and Kirk. Yeah. I don't think it's crazy. Obviously, Cowboys fans or people that just look at stats are going to say it's crazy to have him above Dak. You want to say Dak? Okay, Dak's above him. Tua, Geno, Carr, I think you could make a very valid argument for all of those guys in favor of Jones based off of what I am projecting, what I think Jones can be next year with Dable year 2 in the offense and what his upside is. And the fact that he's still much younger than a lot of those guys and he has room for further growth. Yeah, and I think I've never been a huge fan of Cousins. I mean, the guy's got friggin' Justin Jefferson over there running. I don't know. You can make an argument, I think, for the majority of those guys that he has Daniel Jones above. You may not agree with the argument, but I don't think it's crazy to make an argument for a lot of those guys that he has Daniel Jones above. I'll say that. And I think that's fair to say. Let's see what we got. Not says the question is, what other teams would be in on him at that price in free agency? The agent has to have some sort of inkling he's going to get north of 40. It only takes one team. It only takes one team, right? So I'm gonna go back to what I said before, that you're worth what a team's willing to pay, right? And I think Daniel Jones on the open market, there's going to be one team that's going to be willing to pay him at least $38 million a year. Joe Schoen is not stupid. If Joe Schoen felt like Daniel Jones's market couldn't potentially be above $40 million a year, he wouldn't tag him. Because if you're Joe Schoen and you're willing to pay him 35 to 38, which I think most people agree that that's where the Giants want to be at this point, if you're willing to pay him 35, 38, and you don't think there's any chance that anybody's going to be willing to give him 40, and he's not willing to sign for 35 to 38, why would you tag him? Because if a team's only going to give him 32, 33, 34, there's no reason to tag him. You say, Daniel, come on back. Come on back. We're going to give you 36. We're going to give you 37. The whole reason why Joe Schoen would tag him is because he is scared that a team is going to give him over $40 million a year. Otherwise, you wouldn't tag him. So to me, if Joe Schoen tags Daniel Jones, he's telling you I'm at least worried that a team is going to value him out of my price range. And all reports are Joe Schoen is in the price range between $35 to $39 million a year. So, yeah, I think somebody would be willing to give him $40 million a year, as crazy as that may sound to some people. I really do. And that means that's what he's worth. All it takes is one team, man. And Bill says, don't underestimate the value of DJ to Mara. DJ returned Giants prior to the franchise after a decade of crap with that unexpected playoff win. Mara could walk with his head up. Finally, DJ will get paid. I don't think Mara's making the decision. As I said today on Twitter, I think this is a Joe Schoen and Dable decision. However, do I think Mara wants him back? Of course. Do I think that that's having much of an influence? No. I really think this is Schoen and Dable's team. I really think they're making this decision, and I have not thought that for a long time. I've thought that Mara's had way too much input on this team for the last 10 years. But based off of a lot of things that have happened, the fact that Schoen, first off, is an outsider. They completely overhauled the inner workings of the New York Giants scouting department. It is Schoen's squad. They didn't extend him on the fifth-year option. They made Daniel Jones prove himself. I really think this is Schoen's decision. Do I think that Mara wants him back? Of course. I think Mara wants him back. Mara likes Daniel Jones. We all know that. He came out before the year started and said that we did everything to fail this guy. So I think, yeah, ideally he'd like him back. But I think this is Schoen's decision. I think if Schoen goes to Mara and says, no, we can't work with this guy. We can't pay him $36, $37 million a year. I think Mara would let Joe Schoen make the decision that he feels is best for this football team. And I have not thought that for a very long time. I thought that he had way too much say in a lot of things. I don't think that's the case anymore. I really think that he's making the calls. I really do. And Tyler says, Dak was really bad this past season and always comes up short in big games. Also, I think besides DJ is the only one on that list that could still significantly improve besides Trevor and Tua. Let me go back to your list, man. Let me go back to your list. I'm going to read it again. in terms of guys that could significantly improve. You said Trevor and Tua. I agree about Geno. I agree about Carr. I agree about Dak. I think those guys, we know what they are. They're good quarterbacks. I think Murray, I'm not a big Murray fan, but I think Murray can get better. I think he's got tools. So I will say I think Murray could improve. I think Kirk's hit his ceiling. Lamar, I don't know. I don't know how much better Lamar could get. He's great, but I don't know if he'd get better than he's been. So that's probably fair to say about him. Trevor Lawrence could definitely get better, and I think he's going to. Stafford shot in terms of like his ceiling. I think he's reached it. Rodgers is done. Hurts could get better. He's young. He could get better. Even though I don't know if he will. I mean, he was great this year, but you can make an argument. He's still young. Herbert could get better. Allen, I think, could get better. I think a lot of those guys get better, some of the younger quarterbacks, but I get your point, especially the guys that you have competing with Daniel Jones at the back end of that list. I think it's a fair point to make, but not all of them. I think a lot of those younger quarterbacks could still get better. Not says, if DJ leaves, is there any reason to keep 26? I think there is a reason. I'm not saying that I would agree with it necessarily, but yeah, I think the reason, if the Giants were to do that, like let's say they're trading up for Anthony Richardson. Let's just throw that out there, right? They're giving up 3 first-round picks to get Anthony Richardson. I don't think it's a good idea, but if they do that, I think the argument to retain Saquon Barkley at that point is to provide Anthony Richardson with something, right? You want your young quarterback to be able to thrive, and having a really good running back is something that can help him, especially with a team that's as, limited in terms of the weapon department as we currently are, right? And if you were to go up a first-round pick, well, you're not going to be able to get a wide receiver with that first pick, so you're probably not going to get an immediate contributor at that position. So I think that would be the argument, that Saquon Barkley would be a guy that can help grow the young quarterback that you were going to move up and trade, get in the draft. That would be the argument. That basically, he'd be a guy that could help assist, kind of like what Gurley was for like Goff early on in his career, or what Marshawn Lynch was for Russell Wilson early on in his career. Something like that. That would be the thought process, I would think, if they were to keep him. And let's see. And Fabian says, in all honesty, to lead the team, DJ or which other quarterbacks? I don't know what you mean by that, Fabian. In all honesty, to lead team, DJ or which other quarterbacks? I wish I knew what you meant by that. Maybe you're asking which other quarterbacks would be able to lead this team this year. Is that what you're at? I'm trying to listen. If that's what you're asking me for 2023, I said in a video last week, I think there's 2 options. It's people who bring up like the Jacoby Brissetts and the Marcus Mariotas and rolling with Tyrod Taylor for a year and essentially tanking. That's my opinion, at least on the matter. It's not happening. Like, I challenge anybody in this chat to, and then the other argument would be to bring in a guy that you may feel is like equal to Jones, that you're gonna have to pay about the same, like a Carr or Garoppolo. Again, I don't see that happening, because Daniel Jones, you have to figure, is going to improve next year. So I think the only options are trading up for a quarterback or keeping Daniel Jones from a realistic standpoint. But I challenge anybody in this chat to tell me an instance where a quarterback, a starting quarterback, a young starting quarterback, won a playoff game, and the team replaced him the next year with a non-draft pick, with a guy that was like a fringe starter. Like some people have suggested, like Jacoby Brissett. I don't think it's ever happened in the history of football where something like that has happened. Of course, quarterbacks have been replaced for perceived upgrades. Goff, Stafford, stuff like that. But tell me an instance where a team let their starting quarterback walk when they won a playoff game for a guy like Jacoby Brissett, or a guy like Tyrod Taylor, or a guy like Marcus Mariota. It's never happened. It's not going to happen. So to me, the only realistic thing is you either roll with Jones or you trade up for a quarterback. That's all I see. That's the only thing I see happening this year. I don't see any other scenario. Let's see. Tyler says, I agree, a lot could still improve, just not by a lot. You talking about the young quarterbacks? Well, yeah, I mean, how much better could Pat Mahomes get? Like, he's already, like, arguably the greatest, most talented quarterback ever. So, yeah. And Josh Allen, I don't know, man. I don't know what he's going to be. Like, I think he's incredibly talented. You know that if I watch my channel. I'm a huge fan of Josh Allen. Like, just in terms of his physical ability and his upside. He disappointed me this past year. Maybe that had something to do with the fact that he changed play callers. He still had a really good year, but I thought he was going to take a massive step, and he didn't. So I don't know. I don't know if Josh Allen's hit his absolute peak yet. Burrow, yeah, I don't know how much better he could get. He's great already. So, yeah, I get your point. How much better can the guys get? They're already incredible. HB says, if we don't sign 26, what free agent running back would you bring in? If we don't sign Barkley, what other free agent running back would I bring in? Let me look at a list because I want to give you an answer at least. It would be a cheap guy, though. It would be a cheap alternative. It wouldn't be like Josh Jacobs. It would be, let me see. I don't know what their markets are going to be, but I'm just rattling off some of the other free agent running backs. You have Kareem Hunt, who is still decent. You know, he's not like a bell cow, but he's decent. I don't know what his market would be. He's 27.5. Jamal Williams, he's a hard-nosed runner. He's solid. You'd probably get him at a pretty affordable rate. He's 28. I could see something like that. And you could draft a running back in the 3rd or 4th round. Boston Scott. It would be Boston Scott. I would sign Boston Scott and put him on the practice squad so he could never play against the New York Giants ever again. I think he's got like 16 career regular season touchdowns. Like 10 have come against the Giants. So the first thing the Giants need to do this offseason, I've said it several times, they need to sign Boston Scott. So he'd be the free agent running back, and it wouldn't even be to play. It would just be to put him on the bench because I don't even think he's good. But he just finds a way to be Superman when he plays the Giants. Yeah, it would be somebody like it would be somebody like Jamal Williams, like that. Like a guy that's like 27, 28, solid running back. He could be, part of a running back by committee that maybe you could get for like $3 or $4 million. Like it would be something like that. It wouldn't be an equal replacement for Saquon Barkley. I would try to replace Barkley with a collection of running backs. A guy that I drafted in the 3rd or 4th round, a moderately priced free agent signing. So it would be something like that if they were to lose Barkley. And let's see what we got. Chris says, I'm sorry, but these Giants fans in the chat are nuts. Jones finally had one okay year, and they think he's better than Lamar. He didn't say he was better than Lamar. Or maybe some people in the chat said that, but he didn't say he was better than Lamar. And is only one who can improve? Yeah, I disagree with that. I definitely think some of those other guys can improve. I agree with that. But I get the point about Mahomes. Like, how much better can Mahomes get, right? John says, in my opinion, Joe should call his bluff and put the non-exclusive tag on him to show him no other sane GM would pay him what he is asking for, but gladly take 2 first-rounders if a team does and pick a rookie quarterback. I think that's what he's going to do if Jones doesn't lower his asking price, at least initially. I think he's going to slap the tag on him. He's not paying him $45 million. It's not happening. So if that is and I'm not in these discussions. I don't know what they're saying. I've heard things. When I talk to certain, I'm not going to say it, but I've heard things. But maybe that's where the Giants are, what I've heard. It might not be where Jones is. So I don't know exactly where where they are right now in terms of a price point. So if they're at that $45 million range, they're going to tag him. They're not going to sign him for $45 million. But then they're going to work out a deal. I don't think he's going to play the year on a tag. Duran, he says, if true, maybe DJ is asking for $45 million plus compensation for the pain and suffering he endured dealing with Judge and Garrett years. That might very well be what it is. Don't say Carl Banks. No, I have not heard anything from Carl Banks. I'm not going to say who, but no, it was not Carl Banks. I do want to get Carl back on the channel, though. I love Carl. Carl was awesome. That was so much fun to be able to talk to Carl Banks. But no, it's not Carl Banks. It's somebody but no, not Carl Banks. I love Carl, though. Carl's awesome. Yes, deep down we believe in DJ. My eyes tell me you can win with him. I agree. I agree. I agree. I think we can win with Daniel Jones. I don't know if he's ever going to be, top 5 quarterback good, but I think we can win with Daniel Jones. If we build the team appropriately, I think we can win with Daniel Jones. Do you see the Giants surprising everyone and drafting? No, I do not. Now, when you say, Daniel, let me answer it. When you ask me, can I see the Giants drafting a quarterback? When I answer that, I'm assuming you mean first round. Anything could happen after the second round. Like, could they draft a quarterback in the third round? Sure. But when you ask me that, I'm assuming you mean a first round quarterback. So my answer, no. I don't see a scenario where we're taking a quarterback this year in the first round. I think Dan Jones coming back. Let's see what we got. It was Kadarius Toney, guys. That's it. Yeah. Do you like Jalen Hyatt? I like his speed. I don't like his limited route tree. At least from what I've seen, I like his speed. I mean, even though I was a little bit surprised at the 40 time he ran today, he looks faster. And when I've watched like his game tape, he's definitely a guy that could take the top off of defense. But I don't know. He doesn't seem like as polished as a wide receiver as you would like if you're taking one in the first round. But he definitely has really good speed. I wouldn't mind taking him, but I don't know if I love him at 25. Do you think Jones is worth $40 million average per year? To be honest, he will only get better. I won't be upset. I'm not gonna be like jumping for joy. The only way I'm gonna be jumping for joy with the contract is if it's like $34 million, even 35. I'd be very happy. I'd be very excited if they got him for $35 million a year. I'm not gonna be fuming, I'm not gonna be enraged if he gets 40 on average. Again, it all comes down to the guaranteed money, though. I don't want to have to pay 40, but we'll see. We'll see how it all works out, man. Johnston. Yeah, I don't think we're getting him. I like him, though, but I don't think we're getting him. How would you rank the quarterbacks from that list? Tyler, I got to go back to your list now, Tyler. It was a good list. I mean, I think you left off. I mean, some people would say Fields. I can't put Fields above him yet. I do agree with that Fields has potential and he may be able to pass Jones, but I wouldn't put him above him yet. That was the one quarterback I was like, oh, he didn't put him on the list. I mean, Burrow, Mahomes, Allen, Herbert, Hurts, you have to put above him right now. Rodgers, you have to put him above him right now. Stafford. I'll say this. If there is one quarterback you have above him that I think you could at least say there's a strong chance DJ could pass him next year, it is Stafford. I could see Stafford as a guy that just is starting to fall off. He's older. He's coming off an injury. But I get putting Stafford above him. Super Bowl winning quarterback. Tremendously talented. He's got a rocket for an arm. He's probably going to make the Hall of Fame. But I wouldn't be surprised if DJ passes him next year. Trevor Lawrence clearly above him. Lamar, you have to put above him. The guy won an MVP a few years ago, even though DJ's, who knows? Maybe in 2 or 3 years we don't feel that way. But right now you have to put Lamar above him. So the only guy that I could even see making an argument right now is Stafford. Like, I could see DJ passing Stafford that you had above him. I would have DJ above Tua personally. I do. If all things are equal, I think DJ is at least as good as Tua, and I think he has a higher ceiling. I think he has a stronger arm. I think he's more mobile. I would put DJ above Geno, not off of last year, but if I'm a quarterbacks that I would want, I would put him above Geno based off of age and everything else. I would put him above Carr. I'll be fair. I'll put Dak above him. I don't want to. I definitely think he could pass Dak, and I think he had a better year than Dak last year. Yeah, like I said, man, I would probably have him more 12 or 13, but I don't think your list is that far off. I think he's a fringe top 10 guy. I think he's between 10 and 15 or 16. That's where I think he is right now. That's where I think he is. And Big Moot, they can be a member. He says, when are you and Patty and Bad Dog doing the set? We already did. I know it wasn't super in depth, but we did. And I'm going to be on Patty's channel on Thursday. We're going to talk more about free agency and everything else. HB says, I think Stafford and Rodgers are done. They are not good anymore. I still think Rodgers could be a top. People have written off Rodgers before. He's still got an incredible IQ. He's really smart. He's not the physical talent that he used to be. But I still think Rodgers, if he goes to the right team, or even if he comes back with the Packers next year, could still be a really good quarterback. But I don't think it's that much longer. Carr, I think Carr is what he is. Oh, no, you said Stafford, rather. We'll see about Stafford. But I wouldn't be shocked if he's cooked. The other name, Goff is another name. Yeah, Goff. There's another one. Goff had a really good year last year. You could make the case for Goff over Jones, for sure. I think it's whatever. It's a debate, but you could make the case. Chris says, how you pay a quarterback $40 million only threw 15 touchdowns to me is a mistake. I get it. I get the argument. That's what people are going to say. I get it. It's a very rare. Daniel Jones is not, you know what makes this such a fun topic? Well, not fun, but more so aggravating, because I've been getting into this discussion and this debate for probably about 12 weeks, whether it be more so on Twitter than anything else. But what makes it a discussion is Daniel Jones is a very rare circumstance. Very rare. Tell me a time, come up with another name, where a quarterback over the first 4 years of his career had 3 different head coaches, had 4 different offensive play callers, and collectively over the 4-year sample size had arguably the worst offensive line and worst wide receiving core in football, because that's what he's had. So that's what makes it a debate, because even though it's 4 years, it's still an unknown because of how bad the New York Giants handled him as a quarterback. And he showed promise last year. So that's why it's a debate. And I think it's fair to say, if you watch him, he has tools to be a very good quarterback. He definitely does. He's not like a quarterback when you watch him, you say, there's certain quarterback, like Mac Jones, for example. When I watch Mac Jones, I look at him, I'm like, this guy's not, he had no business being a first-round pick. There's nothing about him when I watch him that I'm like, yeah, he could be really good one day. He could be great one day. Kind of the same thing with Baker Mayfield. I always thought Mayfield was pretty good, but when I watched Mayfield, there was nothing that kind of jumped off the page where I'm like, oh, well, I see why the Browns took this guy first overall, just based off a physical skill set. When you watch Jones, there is talent there. Even the biggest Daniel Jones hater has to acknowledge that. There is talent there. The guy has, I think, an above-average arm. I'm not going to say he has a Pat Mahomes arm, but he has an above-average arm. He's clearly got above-average mobility. He's got really good touch on his passes. I think he's very accurate. So there's stuff to work with there. And it's why it's a discussion, and it's why it's a constant debate, because the stats don't match up with his potential. And his upbringing is unlike anything we've ever seen before in the NFL because of how bad the New York Giants handled it. So that's why it's a debate. That's why it's a debate. And Chris says, how you pay quarterbacks $40 million? Well, yeah, that's. And let's see. Adam, man, thank you very much, man. He says, happy offseason. Jones has all the leverage in this negotiation. The front office could take a ton of crap for starting the quarterback search over. Can't blame Jones' camp. He won a ton of games, in my opinion. I think Jones is trying to maximize his leverage right now. I think if the Giants tag Jones, they gain a little bit of leverage because then he can't negotiate with anybody else, realistically speaking, because I don't think anybody's going to give up 2 first-round picks and pay him $40 million a year. So right now he has leverage, but I think if the Giants are forced to use the franchise tag, they gain a little bit of leverage. But yeah, he clearly has leverage. He had a good year, and he knows he's worth something if he's able to hit the open market. Quarterbacks are valuable. So that's why this is dragging out. That's why this is a hard negotiation. And if I'm Jones, I'm going to try to use that leverage, and we'll see. I'm not going to do a mock draft now, but yeah, I'll have a mock draft up next week. And I'll start doing live mock draft streams probably a week or 2 before the draft. But yeah, I'm going to have a post-combine mock draft sometime next week. The thing with Jones is I'm going to need the 5 to 10 yard runs to stop when there's a receiver wide. Yeah, Michael, I agree with you. He needs to grow more as a quarterback. And I'm not people look at this as an excuse. I don't think it's an excuse. Last year, was the offense dummied down a bit? Sure. People bring up the argument, oh, well, he only had to scan half the field. And they tried to play to his strengths. And that's all fair, and that's all well and good. It was his first year in the scheme. He had an offensive line from the depths of hell outside of Andrew Thomas. You hope that Evan Neal matures and gets better. And he had wide receivers that were practice squad receivers for the most part. So let's improve the cast around him. Let's give him a second year in the offense. And let's see if he could expand his game. And I'm going to trust Brian Daboll. Everybody says Brian Daboll's a quarterback guru, right? That's what everybody says. Like the argument why you don't want to keep Daniel Jones is because you say, well, Brian Dable's a quarterback guru. He maximized Daniel Jones. He's going to be able to maximize the next guy. And I don't got to pay him this amount of money, right? Well, if you are crediting Brian Dable with being this quarterback guru, with being this very smart mind in terms of his evaluation of quarterbacks, and Brian Dable is on board, because if you don't think he's part of this decision, you're nuts. If Brian Dable is on board with bringing Daniel Jones back for $37 or $38 million a year, well, if you think he's so smart in terms of evaluating quarterbacks and maximizing quarterbacks, well, then you have to say, okay, well, he must see something in Daniel Jones that he thinks he could turn this guy into something big. So that's my outlook on it. If Brian Dable and Joe Schoen think that Daniel Jones is worth $37 or $38 million a year, I'm going to find out if he is. I'm going to let them see what they could get out of this kid. Let's see what we got. Chris says, to me, if I was a GM, I take risk to try to find someone else. What quarterback was taken in year 5 to break out? I think we have seen the best of him. I don't. I really don't. I don't think we've seen the best of Daniel Jones yet. I don't. I don't know what his best is, but I don't think we've seen it yet. Fabian says his stats were an outcome of our offensive scheme. I think it's an outcome of several things that I've talked about, but I don't think we've seen the best of Daniel Jones yet. I really don't. I don't know what it is. I'm not going to make any guarantees, but I think you're going to see a better version of Daniel Jones in 2023. You DJ haters are dreaming if you think DJ won't be. Let's see. Kurt Warner was replaced by Mark Bolger. Was that injury related though, blue collar? And did they? I know he was replaced by him. I don't remember. Did the Rams make the playoffs the year before? Did they win a playoff game? And was it injury related? Because if it was injury, obviously if it's injury related, I'm not going to go by that. But I honestly don't remember. But I do remember when he replaced Kurt Warner. We have not seen the best of what. Hey, Tanner, would you be interested to tag and trade Jones for picks to draft a quarterback? What's the offer you're giving me? What's the offer you're giving me? At the end of the day, you always listen. So if a team is willing to give me a lot, you listen for sure. What's up, Novi says, can they surround him with the pieces necessary to see his best if the receivers? Well, that's the golden question. And obviously, if Joe Schoen pays him, he thinks he can. Otherwise, he wouldn't do it. Right? So let's see. Let's see the contract. I don't think he was making it. No. I don't know. I don't know if you got the context of the Kurt Warner thing, Barba. I asked a question earlier about what quarterback got replaced that made the playoffs the year before by a quarterback that was thought to be like a backup or a fringe starter. I said I don't think it's ever happened if it's not injury related. So I think that was the context of what he was bringing up. But I don't even remember where Bolger was. I don't remember. I don't remember if it was injury related or whatever. When Warner got replaced by Bolger. I've said this for a while. If I'm Jones, I'm getting out of New York. It's not worth playing here ever. I'll be the first to say, man, I don't know if I wouldn't want to play in New York. You got to pay me more to play in New York with the fans. Bill says, Chris, would DJ be a top 10 quarterback? A top 10 quarterback behind and a top. Statistically speaking, I think Daniel Jones would be a top 10 quarterback playing for the Eagles, if that's what you're asking me. Yeah. I do. I think he'd be a top 10 quarterback playing for the 49ers. Yeah, I do. I do. From a statistical standpoint, I do. But Chris, Goff on this team behind this O-line and these wide receivers not have got us to the playoffs. He would have got. Probably, you're right. I mean, Detroit has one of the best offensive lines in football. What is your weirdest jersey that you own? I wouldn't say any of them are weird. I could just, some of my older jerseys that I don't even know where they are. Probably half of them are probably up, in like a storage. But I have Kerry Collins. I have Michael Barrow. I have Trying to think of like some of my original jerseys when I from the late 90s and early 2000s. I had a ton from that team. I got a Matthias Kiwanuka. That's a bit after, but I got him. So I got some randoms, I guess. I don't have a Charles Way. No, I don't have a Charles Way. Yeah, I got a Kerry Collins. I don't know where it is right now, but I got a Kerry Collins. I loved Kerry Collins. I loved him. Ryan says, just go into the settings and turn salary cap off. Sign Jones, sign Barkley, sign Love, sign Slayton, sign. Yeah, it's that easy. And Baruch says, hey, Chris, how about them Knicks? But on 8 in a row, bro, I'm happy. But on Jones, would you tag and trade Jones for a top pick? I mean, you are replacing him with one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the draft. No, I would not. Wait, what's your question, Brooke? Would I trade Daniel Jones straight up for that? But that's just a silly hypothetical because it would cost more than that because you'd have to trade. For us to get in the top 5, you'd have to trade 3 first-round picks. But if you're asking me, would I trade Daniel Jones for C.J. Stroud just straight up and I don't have to give up any draft compensation? Yeah, you have to consider that because C.J. Stroud is on a rookie salary, right? But that's just not the world we live in. That's not going to happen. You'd have to give up 3 first-round picks plus to get up there, right? So that's the argument. It's not, would you trade Daniel Jones for C.J. Stroud knowing that you're going to have 4 years on a rookie contract? It's, would you let Daniel Jones go and give up 3 first-round picks plus to get C.J. Stroud? Kerry was okay till he ran into the Ravens. Kerry Collins was good. He wasn't incredible, but he was good. He was a good quarterback. Yeah, I mean, to be fair to Kerry, though, Aquarius, like, what quarterback went against that Ravens defense that year and did not get demolished? That's probably the greatest single-season defense ever. Definitely in my lifetime. I didn't get to see the 85 Bears. So, I mean, to be fair to him, I mean, that defense was ridiculous. Warner was hurt the year before, then replaced midseason by Bolger. Okay. Yeah. So to me, that doesn't count. Like if you're replaced by injury, that's different. Like Dan Jones coming off a year where he was completely healthy all year, made the playoffs, won a game. So that's a different scenario for me. But it's you tried. It was pretty good. It's pretty good. What's going on, Milkman? He says, hey, what's up, Chris? Will you be making a Mets season? I plan on doing a little bit of Mets content this year. And, yeah, I'll probably do maybe like a week or 2 before the season. I'll probably do like a Mets live stream, probably. I plan on doing some Knicks offseason content this year as well. But, obviously, I'm going to mainly focus on the Giants like I usually do. But, yeah, I'll probably do like I already know Bad Dog and me talked. We're going to do like I don't know when we're going to start it. Maybe like opening day or around opening day. We're going to do like a weekly baseball show. Because he's a Yankee fan, I'm a Met fan. So we're going to do maybe like an hour baseball show, whatever, a week where we talk about our team. So definitely going to do that. DJ likes good route runners. That's part of why Tony didn't. Yes, but you talking about Jones? Imagine how good DJ would be if he came to the Giants when Dable and Shane regime was just starting. Really? I'd be better, for sure. You seen? Yeah, I saw the highlights. I mean, the highlights were really, I guess, like the drills, right, where he was with the broad jump and the vertical jump, and he threw a couple of good deep balls. But yeah, I saw it. Don't do it Friday nights. All right, maybe I don't know. We'll figure out a night that I guess works for the people that are going to watch. But yeah, we're going to do a weekly baseball show. We're going to talk Mets and Yankees. I don't know much outside of the Mets. I'll be the first to say it. I watch the Mets. That's my team. And obviously he knows the Yankees. So don't expect us to talk like Cardinals but yeah, I plan on doing that. Chris, thank you very much. He says, do you still look crazy when said I would trade up Anthony Richardson and move on from Jones? I don't think anybody's crazy for having that opinion, Christopher, at the end of the day. I just think it's risky. I think it's risky. If Anthony Richardson works out, you look like a genius, but the odds are against you if you do that, right? Especially if you put him into the situation that we currently have. But I don't think you're crazy. Like if Joe Shane thinks that Anthony Richardson is going to be Josh Allen, yeah, go and get him, right? But so yeah, I don't want to use the term crazy. Like I thought people that said Malik Willis last year were crazy. Like, I could at least see Anthony Richardson being a really good quarterback if he gels into it. He's got the physical skill set. Never thought that about Malik Willis. So I don't think you're crazy. I just personally don't think it's the right decision. I want to build up the team, and I want to see what Daniel Jones can become in the process over the next 2 or 3 years. Barb says, imagine how good Dimes would be if he was Herbert or Burrow. He's nowhere near them, blah, 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 blah. To be fair, most quarterbacks aren't those guys. Those guys are elite. But guys, I'm going to close it out. I had a lot of fun tonight. I know I haven't done these live streams in a bit. Obviously, we're going to have a lot more to talk about as the offseason gets going. I plan on going live the day after, or the day of, rather, that Daniel Jones signs, whether that's the tag or whether that's the contract. So that'll be my next live. That'll probably be, I'm thinking Monday or Tuesday. If it's the tag, it'll be Tuesday. If it's the contract, it'll be Monday. So that's the next time I'm going to go live. So definitely live for that. I'll be calling the Knicks game if you want to swing by for that tomorrow. And I'm looking forward to it, man. Tana just got a call from DJ. He asked you to put some 45s in the chat. You heard it here. $38 million, 41 with incentives. That's what my prediction. $38 million a year, 41 with incentives. Guys, have a good night. Be good.